Chapter 5:15. Bang, bang, bang. The black-haired gorilla, who wanted to make a deal with Yi Chen, desperately ran out of the valley. Because Yi Chen didn't agree to its deal, it didn't dare to stay in the valley at all. After a breath, the black-haired gorilla found that Yi Chen didn't chase after it at all and was slightly relieved. However, its nerves were still tense. That was because it knew that Yi Chen could teleport. That was an ability it never thought of, but Yi Chen had this ability. If Yi Chen teleported over and shot it, it would die without a doubt. "Please don't teleport, please don't chase after me," the black-haired gorilla muttered with great eagerness. It didn't want Yi Chen to chase after it, and it didn't want Yi Chen to teleport over because it wanted to live. If death was the end, it didn't want to be killed by Yi Chen, because if Yi Chen killed it, it would really lose everything. "I'm not going back to the demon realm. No matter what, as soon as I leave the valley, I'll run far away and hide. At most, I'll cultivate in the human realm. If I'm lucky, I might be able to eat a lot of humans. This way, I can still ascend quickly." Just as the black-haired gorilla thought of this, a tyrannical aura of destruction suddenly appeared and rushed towards it. If the black-haired gorilla had divine sense or turned around to look, it would immediately see a scene that made it despair. The tip of the Godslayer, which was more than 2 meters long, appeared out of thin air a few hundred meters away from Yi Chen. However, the black-haired gorilla didn't have divine sense and didn't turn around to look because it didn't dare and didn't have the time to look. At this moment, the black-haired gorilla's pupils shrank again and again, and its black hair stood on end. It felt the arrival of death, real death. Yi Chen. Yi Chen made a move. The black-haired gorilla made a judgment in the blink of an eye, but it couldn't do anything, because its speed was already as fast as it could, and it couldn't make the slightest movement to dodge. It was locked on. "No!" The black-haired gorilla roared with fear in its eyes. "Poochie!" The black-haired gorilla's roar came to an abrupt end. The Godslayer instantly pierced through its heart. At the same time, the Godslayer flashed, and the black-furred gorilla's soul was instantly devoured. In the next second, a bang sound was heard. The black-furred gorilla's body exploded into pieces. At the same time, on the city walls of Luoyang, due to the white tiger's sudden disappearance, Lu Hong, who had not appeared for a long time, suddenly made a decision. He then looked at Zhang Li and shouted without hesitation, "Pass down the decree. The divine beasts Vermilion Bird and White Tiger have slain countless demons, and have performed meritorious deeds. As long as the great Han dynasty is not destroyed, these 2 divine beasts will enjoy 50% of the human race's destiny." "Yes, Your Majesty." When Lu Hong heard this, he was slightly taken aback and hurriedly bowed. In the valley, where the black-haired gorilla had been blown into pieces, crash! Several sounds were heard. Glittering items appeared in an instant and then fell to the ground. Seeing this, Yi Chen grabbed the air with his left hand, and a dozen items instantly flew to Yi Chen. When the items dropped by the black-haired gorilla arrived in front of Yi Chen was slightly stunned, and then his eyes lit up. "Damn it! I'm lucky again." There were a total of 12 items dropped by the black-haired gorilla, including 5 holy-level cultivation methods, 2 innate-level cultivation methods, 2 immortal-level weapons, 2 immortal-level armors, and the last one was the water-repelling pearl. For Yi Chen, the holy-level cultivation methods were not important. Of course, Yi Chen still needed them. After all, there were many soldiers in Samsara City. As for the innate-level cultivation methods, it was really beyond Yi Chen's expectation. To be precise, Yi Chen did not expect that the black-haired gorilla would drop the innate-level cultivation method. Originally, Yi Chen planned to think about the innate-level cultivation methods after he ascended to the primordial world. After all, Yi Chen had killed so many beasts, and his luck had increased many times, but not a single innate-level cultivation method was dropped. Who would have thought that this time, our innate-level cultivation method was dropped? For Yi Chen, the innate-level cultivation method was a must. It was not for Yi Chen to use, but for Zhao Yu, Chan Wan, Kai Meier, and the others. Of course, Yi Chen's generals and soldiers also needed it. After all, the holy level cultivation method could only reach the mortal evolution state at most. It would not be effective beyond that. Wait, why didn't the innate level cultivation method drop before? Why did it drop this time? Thinking of this, Yi Chen could not help but frown. Just when Yi Chen was confused, a world announcement suddenly sounded. Ding! Great Han Emperor Lu Hong wants to confer the title of White Tiger and Vermilion Bird as nation protectors. They will enjoy 50% of the human race's providence. Ding! White Tiger refuses to become the Great Han Empire's nation protector. Ding! Vermilion Bird refuses to become the Great Han Empire's nation protector. The world announcement was repeated 3 times, stunning all the players. Oh shit! What's going on? What is Lu Hong trying to do? It doesn't matter what Lu Hong is trying to do. What's important is the next 2 world announcements. Damn, Vermilion Bird and White Tiger responded. Damn, if you didn't mention it, I would have almost forgotten about this. The White Tiger and Vermilion Bird actually responded. This means that they really exist. Of course, Yi Chen is already at the nirvana state. He can even fly. What's so strange about the White Tiger and Vermilion Bird really existing? By the way, don't you guys find it strange? Why would Lu Hong suddenly want to confer the White Tiger and Vermilion Bird as nation protectors? Damn, now that you mention it, why do I feel like this has something to do with Yi Chen? Damn, that might be the case. Yi Chen can summon the White Tiger. That's not right. Don't tell me Yi Chen can summon the Vermilion Bird? Let me tell you guys. Boss Yi Chen can summon the Vermilion Bird. I've seen it with my own eyes. Damn. Then this bullshit world announcement can be explained. It must be Yi Chen. The world channel was abuzz and soon became lively. Yi Chen, who was in the valley, let out a long sigh of relief. He then looked coldly in the direction of Luoyang. Damn, Lu Hong, that idiot. Conferring the White Tiger and Vermilion Bird as nation protectors was one thing, but he actually gave them 50% of the human race's providence. Fortunately, the White Tiger and Vermilion Bird still didn't know what the human race was. Otherwise, this would be King bad. Yi Chen's goal was to unify the world and ascend. Naturally, he wouldn't allow the human race's providence to be lost. Otherwise, how could Yi Chen lead his troops to Luoyang and save Lu Hong's life? But what Yi Chen didn't expect was that Lu Hong would confer the Vermilion Bird and White Tiger as nation protectors just because he knew of their existence. He even wanted to give them 50% of the human race's providence. If this happened, then the human race could forget about getting 50% of their providence back. Even if Yi Chen unified the world and abolished the White Tiger and Vermilion Bird's nation protectors, it would be useless. This was because the White Tiger and Vermilion Bird were conferred by Lu Hong. The human race's providence was also given by Lu Hong. If the Great Han Empire was destroyed, then 50% of the human race's providence would be directly taken by the White Tiger and Vermilion Bird. Chapter 5:16. Luckily, Vermilion Bird and White Tiger didn't care about Lu Hong's reward. Otherwise, Yi Chen would have to kill White Tiger and Vermilion Bird. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to get back 50% of the human race's fate. As for White Tiger and Vermilion Bird, they didn't hesitate to reject Lu Hong because the human race hadn't appeared in the Eldritch world yet. Otherwise, White Tiger and Vermilion Bird wouldn't have rejected Lu Hong so casually. If White Tiger and Vermilion Bird didn't reject, Yi Chen would have a headache. After all, after the entire country ascended, the human race would need the blessing of fate. Otherwise, it would be difficult to establish a foothold in the Eldritch world. White Tiger and Vermilion Bird were real divine beasts. Yi Chen, who had just ascended, wouldn't be able to kill them even if he exhausted himself. This damned idiot. Just as Yi Chen thought of this, the system's notification rang out. Ding. because Emperor Lu Hong of the Great Han Dynasty forced the reward, White Tiger and Vermilion Bird rejected it. The reward will be automatically postponed. Congratulations to player Yi Chen for obtaining 50% of the human race's fate. As soon as the system's notification ended, Yi Chen's eyes widened. Holy shit! How could this be? Yi Chen didn't expect that he would obtain 50% of the human race's fate before he even destroyed the demon race's invasion. Of course, this wasn't important. The important thing was that even if Yi Chen had destroyed the demon race's invasion, he shouldn't have obtained 50% of the human race's fate. Yi Chen knew this from the beginning. However, the current situation was that Yi Chen had really obtained 50% of the human race's providence. Damn, the White Tiger and Vermilion Bird that killed the demon race's army was the Samsara Legion's Xiantian battle formation. Lu Hong wanted to show off and forced the White Tiger and Vermilion Bird to reward them. Who would have thought that they would reject it and give it to me? If Lu Hong knew that the White Tiger and Vermilion Bird only appeared because I used the White Tiger battle formation and the Vermilion Bird battle formation, that idiot would definitely not give the human race any luck. Just as Yi Chen thought of this, an indescribable fluctuation suddenly appeared on Yi Chen's body. At the same time, the speed at which Yi Chen automatically absorbed the heaven and earth spirit qi suddenly increased by 50 times. Furthermore, Yi Chen's comprehension was also increasing at this moment. Yi Chen's eyes lit up when he sensed the changes in his body. Holy sh*t, 50% of the human race's providence is so king awesome, awesome. Thinking of this, Yi Chen could not help but laugh maniacally. At this moment, the system notification sounded again. Ding! Congratulations to player Yi Chen for obtaining 50% of the human race's fate. Special reward, Fortune X2. Ding! Congratulations to player Yi Chen for advancing to Child of Fate, mortal. As soon as the system notification ended, Yi Chen's maniacal laughter came to an abrupt end. Then, his eyes widened. Holy sh*t! How could there be such a good thing? Child of Fate, it's actually the Child of Fate. After Yi Chen's rebirth, how could he not know what the Child of Fate was? It was a super big bug. It was an existence that was completely inhuman. It was so heaven-defying that it could explode. For example, it could greatly increase the drop rate of monsters and greatly increase the grade of items. Another example would be picking up a primordial spiritual treasure while walking, having an epiphany while sleeping, catching a divine pet while fishing, bending down to pick up a peach of immortality, and so on. All sorts of unimaginable things could happen to a child of destiny. Even if they were in danger, such as being hunted down, they could still reap some benefit. For example, they could receive an inheritance, pick up a treasure, or obtain a heavenly spiritual treasure. Therefore, the Child of Fate was a super big bug. Furthermore, there was no doubt about it. Of course, the Child of Fate was not unique. There could be a Child of Fate in every world. But that was not important. What was important was that as long as the Child of Fate appeared, he would definitely become one of the perverts and obtain all sorts of enviable benefits. Of course, to become the Child of Fate, even Yi Chen was very surprised. One had to know that in Yi Chen's previous life, no one had ever obtained the fate of the human race. Therefore, Yi Chen did not know that obtaining the fate of the human race could change one's luck. But that was not important. What was important was that Yi Chen's luck had already undergone a qualitative change. He had directly become the Child of Fate. As far as Yi Chen was concerned, this was undoubtedly an extremely good thing. Although the grade of Yi Chen's Child of Fate was still very low, compared to the profound luck, it was a completely different concept. In the past, Yi Chen's luck was profound, and the items dropped by Yi Chen when he killed monsters could be upgraded by 1 or 2 grades. But now, with the support of the Child of Fate, Yi Chen could completely upgrade the items dropped by 4 or 5 grades. And that was not the most important thing. The most important thing was that no matter what Yi Chen did, it would be very smooth. Even if Yi Chen encountered danger, he would be able to turn misfortunes into blessings and reap great benefits. Even if he went to the primordial world, his status as the child of fate could still help Yi Chen. Damn it, I was wondering why Khanate cultivation techniques, Khanate weapons, and Khanate equipment dropped. It turns out that it's because of the accumulation of luck and the advancement of the child of fate. At the thought of this, Yi Chen could not help but look up to the sky and laugh heartily. It was no wonder that Yi Chen was so excited. In his previous life, Yi Chen had been very envious of the children of fate who had ascended to the primordial world from other worlds. Those fellows were all lucky to the point of bursting. And now, Yi Chen had also become the child of fate. How could Yi Chen not be excited? Just as Yi Chen was laughing heartily, the dull rumbling of the ground stopped. At the sound of this, Yi Chen looked at the tens of millions of demons who had arrived at the entrance of the valley and stopped. Instantly, his killing intent exploded. Since he had become the child of fate, he had to start killing. Otherwise, it would be too much of a waste. At the thought of this, Yi Chen used his mind to store all the items dropped by the black-haired gorilla into his storage space. Ding! Congratulations to player for obtaining the acquired spiritual treasure, water-repelling pearl. The moment the system notification ended, Yi Chen could not help but be stunned. Damn it! He did not expect the water-repelling pearl to be an acquired spiritual treasure. The rewards this time were not bad. At the thought of this, Yi Chen could not help but smile. He then looked at the tens of millions of demons outside the valley. Just as Yi Chen was about to make his move, he was suddenly stunned. No, the child of fate would not be activated every time he fought against monsters. Let's wait a little longer. Otherwise, it would be too wasteful. Outside the valley, in front of the tens of millions of demons, a huge black snake looked at the players who had escaped from the valley and asked in a low voice, "What happened? What happened in the valley? Why are you all so flustered?" Before the giant black snake reached the entrance of the valley, it saw the shifter players running out of the valley in a panic and immediately realized that something was wrong. It was precisely because it realized that something was amiss that it did not hesitate to order the tens of millions of demons to stop. Yi Chen is in the valley. When the black-furred wild boar heard this, its eyes were filled with fear. Hearing this, the huge black snake monster's eyes suddenly shrank. Then, it looked at the black-fur wild boar and asked in a deep voice, "Are you sure that Yi Chen is in there? When we arrived, we did not see Yi Chen." "Yi Chen is indeed in the valley. If you don't believe me, you can go and take a look," a hedgehog hurriedly shouted. "Just him alone?" When the black snake demonic beast heard this, its eyes lit up as it asked. Chapter 5:17. Yi Chen is indeed in the valley, but he's too strong. Even if we attack him together, it's useless. We can't even withstand one strike from Yi Chen. The hedgehog demonic beast was slightly stunned by the black serpent's question and then said. Hearing this, the black serpent demonic beast's eyes lit up with excitement. Obviously, the black serpent demonic beast was not afraid at all. Otherwise, it would not have acted like this. The leopard demonic beast, who was the first to run out of the valley, saw the black serpent demonic beast's excited eyes and frowned involuntarily. It then said, "Are you going to provoke Yi Chen? I advise you not to go. The best choice now is to leave quickly and find a hidden place to hide. In this way, our demon tribe will have a chance to be the first to ascend to the untainted land. Otherwise, the human tribe will be the first to ascend to the untainted land, not us." Hearing this, the black serpent demonic beast glanced at the leopard demonic beast. Before it could speak, a black-furred demonic boar demonic beast nodded its head heavily and then said, "I think so too. If the human tribe is the first to ascend to the untainted land, their strength will definitely improve faster than ours. At that time, our demon tribe will be crushed by the human tribe in the real world. Damn it. In this case, Let's leave quickly and hide far away from here. I don't want the scum of the human tribe to step on my head." A black dog demonic beast growled in a low voice without hesitation. "Leave my ass." The black serpent demonic beast snorted and then shouted. Hearing this, the leopard demonic beast sneered and then shouted, "Don't you want to die in the valley?" The leopard demonic beast naturally wanted to leave, but it did not want to leave alone. It wanted all the demonic beasts to leave together, because only in this way would it have a greater chance to escape. One had to know that Yi Chen knew how to teleport. Furthermore, the leopard demonic beast had entered and escaped the valley twice. How could he not know? It was precisely because the leopard demonic beast knew that Yi Chen could teleport that it did not want to escape alone. If it escaped alone, it would not be able to escape Yi Chen's pursuit. Only when a group of demonic beasts fled together in all directions would it have a greater chance of escaping. After all, no matter how powerful his teleportation was, he could only teleport in one direction. When the black snake monster heard this, it coldly glanced at the leopard monster and then shouted in a deep voice, "In a while, you'll be the first to enter the valley. If you dare to run, I'll kill you." "Kill me?" The leopard demonic beast narrowed its eyes and a cold light flashed. Suddenly, an extremely cold aura rose from the black snake demon beast's body. After feeling the bone-piercing coldness, the leopard demon beast's eyes suddenly shrank, and then it shouted in shock, You know demonic arts. How is this possible?" As soon as the leopard demon beast finished speaking, the surrounding demon beasts all widened their eyes and looked at the black snake demon beast in shock. In the valley, Yi Chen, who was riding the Pegasus Little Gold, suddenly opened his eyes. What a pure ice element aura! No. There were traces of Tao in the ice element, connate spiritual treasure. Thinking of this, Yi Chen, who had been observing the 1,000-mile radius of Luoyang, directly locked onto the black snake demon beast that was releasing the cold aura. He did not expect the black snake to have obtained a connate spiritual treasure. Not bad, not bad, this connate spiritual treasure belongs to me. Outside the valley, where the million-strong demon army was. How can a demonic beast know demonic arts? A hedgehog demon beast shouted in disbelief. "No, you have a treasure." The leopard monster suddenly thought of something, and then it shouted with its eyes shining. Just as the leopard monster finished shouting, a deadly crisis suddenly descended. In the next second, the leopard monster's heart trembled violently. However, before it could react, it was directly turned into an ice sculpture. Hiss! The sound of cold air being sucked in instantly sounded from the million-strong demon army. The black snake demon beast looked at the leopard monster that was directly frozen into an ice sculpture and curled its lips in disdain. Then, it looked at the million-strong demon army and shouted domineeringly, "I originally only wanted to have a good meal in the mortal realm and then fly to the untainted land, so I did not fight for the position of king. But now I will definitely be the king." When the million-strong demon army heard this, they all looked at the black snake demon beast and shouted, "Greetings, your majesty." The black snake demon beast heard this and nodded satisfactorily, then it said, "Yi Chen is the most powerful person in the human clan, and his strength is unfathomable. Although I am confident that I can kill him, I need a warrior to help me block Yi Chen." As soon as the black snake demon beast finished speaking, the million-strong demon army trembled in unison. These demon beasts were not stupid. How could they not know the black snake demon beast's plan? "Damn it, what warrior? Aren't you going to die?" But they did not dare to refuse. In the demon clan, the strong were respected. The black snake demon beast was strong, so it had the absolute right to speak. Therefore, even if these demon beasts were not willing, no one dared to refuse. The first batch of black-furred boars that escaped from the valley hesitated for a moment, then looked at the black snake demon beast and said, Your Majesty, we should use the demon beasts to attack first. After all, we are all players." Although it doesn't matter if we die once we return to the real world, it will be difficult for us to deal with the human clan. When the black snake demon beast heard this, it sneered, then looked at the black-furred boar and said, "You go first." "You." The black-furred boar's face froze when it heard this, then it said furiously. It wanted to refuse without hesitation and even curse, but it did not dare. As for the reason why the black snake demon beast did not want the demon beasts to attack, the black-furred boar already understood. This black snake demon beast was one of the lords of the demon clan, and it brought many demon beasts from its territory to invade the mortal realm. Otherwise, the black snake demon beast would not have rejected its suggestion. When the black snake demon beast heard this, its two snake eyes stared at the black-furred boar and then shouted, "Do you want to die?" At this moment, the space behind the black snake suddenly distorted. The black-furred boar, who was frightened by the black snake demon beast's words, was suddenly stunned, and then its eyes instantly widened. After the black snake demon beast saw the expression of the black-haired wild boar, it was slightly stunned. Before it could react, a black and thick long spear suddenly appeared from the distorted space behind the black snake. After that, it stabbed towards the black snake demon beast with incomparable speed. At the same time, the black snake demon beast's snake eyes suddenly shrank. It sensed an extremely tyrannical aura of destruction. That aura made its soul tremble in an instant. Not good. Just as the black snake finished thinking, a poochie sound was instantly heard. The black and thick spear pierced into the head of the black snake demonic beast. Chapter 5:18. The monsters around the black snake were all stunned when they saw this. At this moment, Yi Chen, who was riding on Little Gold, walked out of the distorted space. Yi Chen. The black boar's eyes shrank when it saw Yi Chen, and it stuttered. His voice was filled with nervousness and a deep sense of fear. Its 4 pig legs started to tremble uncontrollably. It had never imagined that the black serpent, which possessed a treasure and could instantly kill a demonic beast of the same level, would be stabbed to death by Yi Chen's spear without even fighting. Bam, bam, bam! At this moment, the demonic beasts around Yi Chen took a few steps back in unison. Each of them looked at Yi Chen with fear in their eyes. There were many of them, more than 10 million of them. However, even with such a large number, they did not have much courage. Originally, when they saw how powerful the black snake was, they thought that it was time for the shifters to rise. Who would have thought that they were thinking too much? Such a powerful black snake demonic beast was killed by Yi Chen so easily. Fear and panic erupted among the tens of millions of monsters. At this moment, a bam sound was heard. The black snake's body exploded into a bloody mist. When Yi Chen saw this, his eyes widened. The Godslayer's soul-devouring ability was not activated. It was indeed a connate spiritual treasure. At this thought, Yi Chen used his mind and the treasure fall coin with wings appeared beside Yi Chen. When Yi Chen was in the valley, he had already guessed that the black snake had a connate spiritual treasure. Naturally, he would not leave the treasure fall coin behind. Once a connate spiritual treasure recognized an owner, it would activate its protective ability. Once the owner of the connate spiritual treasure died, the connate spiritual treasure would take the owner's soul and flee. When that happened, it would be useless for Yi Chen to look for the connate spiritual treasure. As for the reason, it was very simple. The black snake demonic beast was a demonic beast player, and this was a game world. If Yi Chen killed the black snake demonic beast, the connate spiritual treasure would definitely bring the black snake demonic beast's soul far away. After that, the black snake demon beast would definitely be revived. Furthermore, it would still possess a connate numinous treasure. This was not what Yi Chen wanted to see. It was also for this reason that Yi Chen didn't hesitate to use the treasure fall coin. Just as the treasure fall coin appeared, a light blue bead suddenly appeared in the blood mist. The moment he saw the light blue bead, Yi Chen's eyes widened. F***ck. Water Spirit Pearl. Yi Chen had originally thought that the black snake possessed an ice elemental connate numinous treasure. Who would have thought that it possessed an even more powerful connate spiritual treasure, the water spirit pearl? At first glance, the ice-type connate spiritual treasure and the water spirit pearl were both connate spiritual treasures, and there was not much difference between them. However, if he had to choose, Yi Chen would choose the water spirit pearl without hesitation. As for the reason, it was very simple. Yi Chen wanted to refine the 5 elements spirit pearls and then merge them to advance to the 5 elements divine constitution. Of course, even without this reason, Yi Chen would have chosen the water spirit pearl without hesitation. This was because the water spirit pearl's power far exceeded that of the ice-type connate spiritual treasure. Although ice had its own name, it was still water in essence. To be precise, ice was actually one of the 3 states of water. Of course, most of the time people would separate ice from water. Among the spells, ice-type spells were also long regarded as a single type. Furthermore, they were extremely powerful. As for the water spirit pearl of the 5 elements spirit pearls, once refined, not only could it release ordinary water-type spells, it could also release ice-type spells. F***ck, I didn't expect to be so lucky this time to encounter the water spirit pearl. Not bad, not bad, this water spirit pearl is mine. At this thought, Yi Chen's mind moved. The treasure fall coin's wings instantly vibrated, and it flew rapidly toward the water spirit pearl. At the same time, the water spirit pearl turned into a stream of light and flew rapidly into the sky. However, no matter how fast the water spirit pearl was, it was not faster than the treasure fall coin. Just as the water spirit pearl flew 100 meters away, the treasure fall coin instantly attached itself to the water spirit pearl. A golden light flashed, and the trembling water spirit pearl instantly quieted down. In the next second, the treasure fall coin's wings vibrated, and it flew to Yi Chen's side. Looking at the water spirit pearl that was brought back, Yi Chen could not help but laugh maniacally. The 5 elements spirit pearls had always been Yi Chen's goal. They were extremely useful to Yi Chen. Yi Chen would not give up on any of them. And now Yi Chen had obtained the water spirit pearl. How could he not be happy? At this moment, a few hundred monsters that were closer to the entrance of the valley suddenly rushed toward the valley's entrance. Seeing this, Yi Chen smiled coldly. He raised his left hand and grabbed the water spirit pearl. In the next second, Yi Chen pointed the Godslayer in his right hand at the sky. Kaboom! The sound of thunder shook the sky. At the same time, hundreds of lightning bolts as thick as legs descended. Boom! 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 Hundreds of muffled booms followed closely behind. In the next second, the sound of bodies exploding could be heard. Boom, boom, boom. The hundreds of monsters that rushed toward the valley were all blasted into pieces by the lightning without exception. When the tens of millions of demonic beasts saw this, they all shuddered and took a few steps back in unison. They were frightened by Yi Chen's methods. They did not expect Yi Chen to use lightning-type spells. As members of the monster clan, they had an innate fear of lightning, and it was deeply engraved in their souls. Otherwise, they would not be so afraid. Run! Run! A scream suddenly sounded from the tens of millions of monsters. Yes, yes, run! A rat monster stuttered and shouted. Run my ass! Everyone, charge! Yi Chen is alone! A roar suddenly sounded. This demonic beast's shouts clearly carried a hint of madness and bewitchment. However, its bewitchment did not work at all. None of the monsters at the front moved. They were afraid of being killed by Yi Chen, and even more afraid of being stabbed to death by the Godslayer. Damn it, if you don't run, are you waiting to die? Do you want to be burned to death by the vermilion bird or torn to shreds by the white tiger? A black bear monster suddenly stood up and roared. Yes, charge. Don't be afraid. Otherwise, if you stay here, you will also die. A huge toad followed and roared. Those in front don't run. Run with them. A monkey suddenly roared fiercely. When the monsters at the front heard this, their faces changed. In the next second, a yellow bull monster roared fiercely, "Damn it! Damn monkey, I'll kill you!" As soon as it finished speaking, the tens of millions of monsters immediately started running. Boom, boom, boom. A series of collisions sounded instantly. The monsters at the front were about to start running, but in the next second, they were pushed into the valley by the flood of monsters. When Yi Chen heard this, he sneered and pointed the Godslayer at the tens of millions of monsters. Boom, boom, boom. A series of explosions sounded instantly. Chapter 519. Raging fire, endless raging fire, appeared on the ground in patches, and then spread rapidly into the distance. As far as the eye could see, a flame flashed by like a bolt of lightning. After a breath, a sea of fire was formed, and tens of millions of monsters were all wrapped in fire, without exception. Boom! 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 A more violent explosion suddenly sounded. The raging fire directly burned the hair of the monsters, and then mercilessly burned the flesh of the monsters. Zizi, zizi, flesh and blood burned, oil dripped, and the flames became more intense. Ao, squeak, roar, shrill howls of agony followed closely behind. After the appearance of the raging fire, the monsters had already stopped, and then one by one, they fell to the ground and rolled in horror. They wanted to extinguish the flames on their bodies, but it was useless. The ruthless raging fire, the scorching temperature, and the merciless burning. No matter how they rolled, the flames were still there, and they burned more and more fiercely. The incomparably intense pain stimulated the nerves of the demonic beasts wave after wave. Their screams became more and more shrill, and then were replaced by despair. They didn't want to die, they wanted to live, so they desperately wanted to return to the demon realm because they saw the possibility of going back. However, they were wrong. Yi Chen had just killed hundreds of monsters with one blow, and that was not the upper limit of Yi Chen's attack. It was not until now that they realized that Yi Chen's strength, Yi Chen's abnormal ability, was not an ability they could understand. However, it was too late to regret. Yi Chen had already made his move, and with just one point, they were all wrapped in fire, and then burned mercilessly. Gradually, the screams became weaker and quieter, and when all the screams stopped, the sound of items exploding rang out in waves. Hua, 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 countless glowing items burst out with the death of tens of millions of monsters. When Yi Chen saw this, his divine sense immediately swept over the items that burst out. In the next second, Yi Chen's eyebrows couldn't help but raise. Not bad, not bad, the Sun of Fortune finally broke out. Moreover, there was no limit to the number of monsters that could be killed. Thinking of this, Yi Chen's thoughts moved. The items dropped by the millions of demonic beasts instantly flew up and rushed toward Yi Chen. When the dropped items arrived before Yi Chen, they immediately disappeared. Wave after wave, countless sparkling items rushed madly towards Yi Chen before disappearing. To be more precise, the equipment and cultivation methods that these beasts dropped were all stored in Yi Chen's storage space. This was also because Yi Chen had refined the space origin and created his own incomparably huge storage space. Otherwise, Yi Chen really wouldn't have been able to collect all the items that had dropped. Zizi, zizi. The raging fire was still burning the corpses of the demonic beasts. Plumes of smoke rose from the bodies of the demonic beasts and drifted into the air. Gradually, the aroma of barbecued meat filled the air, and it became stronger and stronger. Outside Luoyang City. Rumble, tens of thousands of horses galloped and the earth rumbled. Under the leadership of Zhao Yun, Dian Xiong, Zhang San, Guan Er, Zhao Meng, Gao Shun, Chu Yi, Gao Lan, and Zhang He, the cavalry of Samsara City mercilessly slaughtered the fleeing demonic beasts. The recruits of Samsara City, who were originally struggling, were now at ease. Every strike was guaranteed to kill a demonic beast. Even if the demonic beasts fought back, it was useless. The strength of the recruits of Samsara City was rapidly increasing. More and more of them were on the verge of advancing. However, the fleeing demonic beasts were still madly running in the direction of the valley. Outside the valley, Yi Chen, who was riding on the Pegasus Xiao Jin, glanced at the burning corpses of the millions of demonic beasts. With a thought, the sea of fire in the sky disappeared in an instant. Tens of millions of demonic beasts were already dead. If the fire continued, they would be burnt and the smell wouldn't be good. Yi Chen naturally didn't want the fire to continue burning. Next, it was time to refine the water spirit pearl. At the thought of this, Yi Chen couldn't help but smile. Then, with a thought, in the next second, Yi Chen's divine consciousness directly entered the water spirit pearl. The moment Yi Chen's divine consciousness entered the water spirit pearl, a piercing cold force suddenly attacked Yi Chen's divine consciousness. Sensing this change, Yi Chen's eyes instantly narrowed. The soul of the crooked black snake didn't even have a divine consciousness. How could it resist? It was overestimating itself. At the thought of this, Yi Chen's primordial spirit moved and appeared above Yi Chen's head. An indescribable feeling instantly appeared in Yi Chen's heart. This was the perception of this world that came from the primordial spirit. It was dreamy and illusory, but incomparably real. The beginner's area of the Three Kingdoms was indeed a real game world. If he hadn't released his primordial spirit, he wouldn't have been able to sense it. What kind of existence was Pangu? How could it create such a world, or could it be that this world originally existed? Just as Yi Chen thought of this, a tyrannical suction force suddenly appeared in the sky above. Sensing this change, Yi Chen's brows instantly furrowed. This was the ascension force. Damn it, there were actually no system notifications. F***CK. Looks like I can't casually release my primordial spirit in the Three Kingdoms beginner's area in the future. At the thought of this, Yi Chen didn't dare to delay any longer. His primordial spirit directly rushed into the water spirit pearl. On the next side, an incomparably empty water world directly appeared in front of Yi Chen's eyes. Before Yi Chen could carefully observe it, an earth-shattering cold force instantly rushed toward Yi Chen's primordial spirit. Seeing this, Yi Chen's primordial spirit smiled coldly. With a wave of his right hand, a sea of fire filled the sky directly rushed toward the cold force. Boom! A loud sound was heard. The two completely opposite forces instantly collided and then simultaneously disappeared. The water spirit pearl doesn't belong to me yet. I can't delay any longer. I have to find the black snake demon's soul. At the thought of this, Yi Chen's primordial spirit moved. A violent divine sense instantly burst out from the water spirit pearl's water world. In the next second, Yi Chen's eyes suddenly widened and then he looked toward the sky. At this moment, a black light suddenly flashed in the originally empty sky, and then it rapidly leaped into the distance. Trying to escape? Dream on. Yi Chen smiled coldly. With a thought, Yi Chen's primordial spirit instantly disappeared. When it reappeared, it was directly blocking in front of a cloud of black smoke. Yi Chen, I, the black snake, swear that I won't let you off. An extremely angry roar suddenly sounded. You overestimate yourself. Yi Chen smiled coldly. His primordial spirit's right hand did not hesitate to grab the black smoke, or rather, the black snake demon's soul. Under normal circumstances, smoke could not be caught, but the result was obviously not like this. The black smoke was directly caught firmly by Yi Chen's right hand. Ah! A shrill scream suddenly sounded from the black snake demon's soul. Yi Chen did not even look. With a thought, a ball of fire instantly enveloped the black snake's soul. With a boom, the black smoke instantly dissipated. Chapter 520. Yi Chen's primordial spirit saw this and smiled. Then, with a thought, he left the water world in the water spirit pearl. Just as Yi Chen's primordial spirit appeared, the suction force appeared again and became stronger rapidly. After feeling the increasing suction force, Yi Chen's primordial spirit flew back to Yi Chen's purple mansion without thinking. The moment the primordial spirit flew back to the purple mansion, the suction force disappeared. At the same time, Yi Chen opened his eyes and looked up at the sky. Damn it, if the primordial spirit was in the water spirit pearl or returned to the physical body, it would be fine. Once it was outside, it was forced to ascend. If not for my strong primordial spirit, I might have ascended to the primordial world. The heavenly Tao of the Three Kingdoms novice zone is trying to make me ascend. Thinking of this, Yi Chen raised his eyebrows and looked at the water spirit pearl in his left hand, which was still suppressed by the connate spiritual treasure fall coin. Not bad, I'll keep it first. After refining the fire spirit pearl, I'll refine the water spirit pearl. Thinking of this, Yi Chen's thoughts moved, and a drop of blood essence was instantly forced out by Yi Chen. Then, it dripped onto the water spirit pearl. Buzz! A sound was heard. The water spirit pearl radiated light in all directions, and Yi Chen's blood essence was quickly absorbed by the water spirit pearl. At the same time, an indescribable connection appeared between Yi Chen and the water spirit pearl. After feeling the connection with the water spirit pearl, Yi Chen could not help but smile. He was still missing the gold spirit pearl, wood spirit pearl, earth spirit pearl, and the five elements spirit pearl. Thinking of this, Yi Chen's thoughts moved. The treasure fall coin and the water spirit pearl flew up together and rushed toward Yi Chen's forehead, disappearing in a flash. At this moment, the dull rumbling of the earth reached Yi Chen's ears. Rumble, rumble. This was the sound of countless demonic beasts running wildly. It was dull and loud. In just a few breaths, the dull rumbling of the earth stopped abruptly. In the next second, dense collisions followed. Bang, bang, bang. He saw tens of millions of demonic beast corpses that had been roasted by the blazing fire, 1 li to the northeast. The endless army of demonic beasts crashed into each other from the back. One after another, they crashed into each other. Groups and groups of demonic beasts fell to the ground and then crawled up one by one. In the next second, the roars of the demonic beasts rang out one after another. I'll kill you! A colorful snake demon beast that was trying its best to pull its head out of the 5 grains cycle of reincarnation roared furiously at a black bull demon beast in front of it. F***CK. Grandpa Nyo will tear you apart alive today. The eyes of the black bull that had been drilled instantly widened, after which, it turned around without hesitation and roared explosively at the flower snake demonic beast. Black dog, how dare you stop suddenly? Hedgehog, you bastard! Your grandpa pig won't forgive you. Roar. I'm going to kill you, you bastard. Waves of angry curses rose and fell one after another. In the next second, a chaotic battle broke out among the monsters. Bang, bang, bang. The dense sound of collisions followed closely by waves of sounds. The monsters fought in pairs and in groups of 3. Soon, they were in a mess. Just after the monsters fought for a few breaths, an earth-shattering roar rang out from the front of the army of demonic beasts. Stop King fighting. Tens of millions of our brethren have died here. When the monsters who were fighting crazily heard this, they were all stunned. Then, they looked forward at the same time. However, because of the monsters in front of them, they couldn't see anyone. In the next second, earth-shattering roars rang out one after another. Roar, roar, roar. The monsters rapidly grew in size. Then, they saw tens of millions of corpses of demonic beasts that stretched as far as the eye could see. They were constantly emitting the fragrance of meat. When more and more monsters discovered this fact, they suddenly widened their eyes. How is this possible? A chimpanzee roared in disbelief. Could it be that Yi Chen summoned the vermilion bird again? A husky shouted in fear. Impossible. The white tiger has dissipated. Yi Chen's army hasn't caught up yet. It's impossible for him to summon the vermilion bird. A big white pig shook its head in disbelief and shouted loudly. F***CK, there must be an ambush in the valley we're going to. It's very dangerous. A green python monster roared gloomily. A white goat suddenly thought of something. Its eyes narrowed and then it shouted in shock. Could it be Yi Chen? Human players and the natives of this world don't have such great abilities. No matter how many people there are, they will die if they encounter us. It really could be Yi Chen. But we ran all the way here and didn't see Yi Chen at all. I didn't see him either. I didn't see him either. Stop arguing. There's no one in the human world who can hurt us except Yi Chen. We can't go back to the demon world. A silver wolf covered in silver fur at the front of the army of monsters roared with a gloomy face. If we don't go back, are we going to wait for death here? A huge toad roared angrily. That's right. Yi Chen is too crazy. He's too ruthless. There's no way to deal with him. If we don't go back, Yi Chen will summon the vermilion bird again and none of us will be able to escape. A multicolored cat shouted with a face full of fear. When the silver wolf monster heard this, it snorted coldly. It then looked at the valley and said in a deep voice, "We'll definitely die if we go there. We only arrived a little later than them. In that little time, they were all burned to death. I won't go there. Those who believe me, disperse and hide in the human world. If we're lucky, we demons will definitely be the first to ascend." When the monsters heard this, they all looked at each other. Then, they all nodded and shouted, "Okay, let's do that." In the next second, the endless sea of beasts scattered in an instant, and then ran wildly into the distance. Outside the valley, Yi Chen, who had been using his divine sense to cover a radius of 1,000 miles, couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. You want to run? That depends on whether you have the ability to do so. Thinking of this, Yi Chen's thoughts moved. The fire spirit pearl, the cosmic bow, and the heaven-shaking arrow appeared instantly. Looking at the three items, Yi Chen couldn't help but smile. He threw the Godslayer in his right hand directly into the void. Buzz! A sound was heard. The Godslayer instantly shook and turned into a black light that flashed and disappeared. The moment the Godslayer flew away, Yi Chen pointed at the fire spirit pearl. Buzz! A sound was heard. The fire spirit pearl instantly flew into the distance with a red light. At the same time, Yi Chen raised his left hand and grabbed the cosmic bow. In the next second, 3 heaven-shaking arrows were automatically placed on the bowstring of the cosmic bow. When Yi Chen saw this, he immediately pulled the bowstring with his right hand. In the next second, Yi Chen let go of the bowstring. Clang! The bowstring returned. The 3 heaven-shaking arrows instantly left the string and turned into 3 streams of light that flashed and disappeared. Chapter 521. Rumble. Thousands of beasts galloped and the earth rumbled. Tens of millions of beasts split into dozens of groups and ran in different directions. At the same time, the world channel, which was relatively calm, was boiling. Brothers of the Shifters, Yi Chen is blocking the entrance of the Shifters' realm. Don't go there. Disperse quickly. As long as we can stay alive, we can ascend in the human world. We don't need to return to the Shifters' realm. Also, those who haven't reached Luoyang, hide quickly. Don't come over. Yi Chen is blocking the entrance of the Shifters' realm? Is that true? Damn it, it's true. Tens of millions of beasts died there. Don't take the risk. How is that possible? Yi Chen's cavalry is still chasing after us. Stop talking nonsense and leave quickly. As long as we can escape, Yi Chen can't do anything to us. The human scum can't do anything to us either. Oh damn Yi Chen. When Grandpa Nyo settles down, I'm going to eat to my heart's content. Grandpa Pig is not going back either. Damn it, the human world is so big and there's only one Yi Chen. Grandpa Pig doesn't believe that Yi Chen can find Grandpa Pig. I'm going to hide. Damn it. I was wondering why the flying beasts in the sky above Luoyang disappeared. Did Yi Chen kill them all? Impossible. They can fly in the sky, not run on the ground. They can also summon white tigers. How can they attack those in the sky? Damn, who said that? White tigers are divine beasts. They can also fly. Ha ha ha, Boss Yi Chen is mighty. Kill the shifters. Wait, that's not right. Why does it sound like Yi Chen is in Luoyang? I almost forgot. Didn't Yi Chen leave Jilu not long ago? Why is he in Luoyang? Damn it, what's going on? Could it be that Yi Chen can teleport? F*CK, what you said might be true. Yi Chen brought the cavalry of Samsara City to Luoyang. F***K, let's not talk about those useless things. The crux of the problem now is that the demons are all gathered in Luoyang. If they are all killed by Yi Chen, then what's the point of killing demons? F***CK. Hurry to Luoyang. Damn it, if I had known earlier, I wouldn't have run so far. The World Channel was in an uproar as it was flooded with comments. It was a lively scene. Yi Chen glanced at the World Channel, which was constantly flooding the screen, and then smiled coldly. The shifter players wanted to escape and hide in the human world, waiting for an opportunity to strike. As for the human players, they wanted to rush to Luoyang as soon as possible to kill the demons and reap the benefit. Yi Chen could naturally see this. However, in Yi Chen's opinion, neither the demon race nor the human race could achieve their goals. Yi Chen would not let any of the demon race go. Similarly, he would not allow the human race players to come and take advantage of him. The reason was very simple. Yi Chen wanted to train his troops, and he wanted to obtain equipment and techniques. Originally, Yi Chen did not want to deal with the few demons that escaped. After all, it was a waste of time. If he had the time, he might as well use it to hunt down more demons. But now Yi Chen had become the Son of Fate. Naturally, he could not ignore the benefits that the Son of Fate brought. One had to know that once the Son of Fate was activated, it would be a huge drop. Moreover, it would drop items that were 4 or 5 levels higher than the original items. For example, Kane techniques, enlightenment stones, and so on. All kinds of items were things that Yi Chen needed very much. Therefore, Yi Chen would not let any of the demons go. Moreover, collecting enough Kane techniques in the beginner's area of the 3 kingdoms was 100 times, no, 1,000 times better than going to the primeval age to collect Kane technique. Yi Chen did not want to miss this opportunity. Rumble, thousands of beasts galloped and the earth rumbled. The demons were running frantically. In their hearts, in addition to strong hatred, there was also a strong fear. Even though they were shouting on the World Channel, in reality they were terrified. They were afraid that Yi Chen would catch up to them. They were afraid that they would not be able to escape. Therefore, they ran desperately. They wanted to escape and leave Luoyang far away, and then scatter around the world. As long as they could escape and stay far away from Yi Chen, they would succeed. The rest was nothing more than hunting. Because they believed that in the mortal world, as long as they did not meet Yi Chen, they would be invincible. 100 miles to the north of the battlefield, the dark and thick Godslayer was suspended in the air, the tip of the spear pointing diagonally to the ground. An extremely strong aura of destruction was emitted from the Godslayer one after another. Rumble, 8 armies of demonic beasts were running toward this place in a scattered formation. As they ran, an incomparable sense of danger appeared in their hearts. At this moment, countless demon beasts' hair stood on end, and their hearts trembled involuntarily. Danger, very danger. That was what the demon beasts felt at this moment. Moreover, this feeling was getting stronger and stronger as they ran. Yi Chen must be coming to kill us. He's almost catching up to us. A black bear suddenly thought of something. Its eyes shrank and then it roared in horror. Run! Spread out a little more. Run as fast as you can. A spotted tiger heard this and suddenly shivered. When it came back to its senses, it hurriedly roared. The sky was filled with the roars of beasts, one after another. Roar, roar, rumble. The demon beasts ran even harder. They did not want to die. They wanted to escape. However, what they didn't expect was that the faster they ran, the stronger the feeling of being threatened became. They knew that Yi Chen would be here soon, so they ran even more desperately. Rumble! Just when they were 10 miles in front of the Godslayer in the sky suddenly shook. With a buzzing sound, a black light instantly shot out from the Godslayer. In the next second, a black light crossed the east and west and flashed past. At the same time, the sound of the earth being torn apart instantly sounded. Boom! The originally flat earth was instantly cut open into a huge ravine that was 500 miles long. At the front of the 8 demon beast armies, all the demon beasts within the range of the ravine were turned into ashes without exception. They did not even let out a scream and directly turned into nothingness. When the 8 demon beast armies saw this, they hurriedly stopped and looked at the huge ravine that suddenly appeared in front of them in horror. The ravine was not very wide, only about 10 meters. Even if they did not become bigger, they could still jump over it. However, none of the demon beasts dared to do so, because the power of the black light that suddenly appeared was too ferocious, and because of the rumbling sound of magma boiling in the huge ravine. This was not something that could be done by ordinary means, so they were afraid, they were terrified, and they did not dare to cross the ravine. They were worried that the black light would shine again. The demon beasts looked around one by one, and some even looked up at the sky behind them. They did not know where the attack came from, but they saw the black light and the terrible scene of the earth shattering after the black light. That black light made them involuntarily think of Yi Chen's Godslayer. Because according to the rumors, Yi Chen's Godslayer would shine with black light every time it was used. When a big rat that looked back at the sky withdrew its gaze in horror and then looked at the sky in front of it, an extremely frightened scream suddenly sounded. That spear! It's Yi Chen's spear! The voice came from a toad. It was very big, but its eyes were full of horror. Its whole body began to tremble violently as it screamed. Chapter 522. The toad was a monster, one of the billions of monsters. At the same time, it was also a player of the monster race. It knew about Yi Chen and Yi Chen's Godslayer, which had the ability to destroy souls. However, it had never thought that Yi Chen's Godslayer was not only capable of destroying souls, but also possessed an unparalleled power that could shake the heavens and the earth. Just a ray of black light was enough to tear the earth apart. What was even more terrifying was that Yi Chen was not here. Following the toad monster's shriek, the monsters in the 8 monster armies all looked up at the sky. There, the pitch-black Godslayer was pointing its spear at the earth. There, a violent aura of destruction was wreaking havoc in the world. There was only one spear, but it made all the monsters unable to resist. They did not dare to resist, and their hearts were filled with fear. The demonic beasts widened their eyes as they looked at the god-slaying spear that was suspended in midair. Divine artifact. It must be a divine artifact. A black dog monster suddenly thought of something and then shouted in horror. Whoosh! When the monsters heard the black dog monster's roar, they all took a few steps back in unison. How could this be? This is the human world. How could a divine artifact appear here? A green snake monster looked at the Godslayer suspended in the sky and shouted in horror. It might not appear here. Don't forget, there are many treasures in the real world that can be brought into the game world. A rat demon beast tried its best to stabilize its violently beating heart due to fear, and then said in a deep voice, "What should we do? Should we go over?" A white cat monster looked at the Godslayer suspended in the sky and swallowed a mouthful of saliva. Then, it asked in a hoarse voice. An incomparably huge crocodile demon beast suddenly stood up like a human and then shouted in a deep voice, "No matter what grade Yi Chen's spear is, we can't stop here, and we can't go back. We have to rush over. Otherwise, we won't be able to escape because Yi Chen has made his move. Moreover, he will catch up with us soon." Whoosh! As soon as the crocodile demon beast's words fell, the demon beasts instantly went into an uproar. Their eyes suddenly revealed a look of extreme horror. This was because they knew of Yi Chen's savagery and had witnessed Yi Chen's savagery with their own eyes. Before they fled, they saw with their own eyes tens of millions of their brethren being roasted alive. Moreover, this was under the circumstance that the vermilion bird had yet to appear. What was even more frightening was that the time that had passed was not long. In fact, it could even be said to be very short. And the cause of all this was Yi Chen. So when they heard that Yi Chen was about to catch up to them, they were all scared out of their wit. "We have to go over. Yi Chen's spear has appeared here, but Yi Chen is not here. Although its power is terrifying, this is also our chance. Otherwise we will all die." A spotted tiger demon beast glanced at the terrified demon beasts. A cold light flashed in its tiger eyes, and then it shouted loudly. When the crocodile monster heard this, it glanced at the tiger monster and then shouted, "All lords, send your subordinates over to test the spear." When the demon race players heard this, they all looked at the demon race lords in unison. The hundreds of demon race lords' faces all sank. They were demon race players and demon race lords. Naturally, they did not want their subordinates to die for nothing. "Black Cat, do you want us to test that spear?" When a green wolf demon beast saw this, it looked directly at the black cat beside it and asked fiercely, "Little hedgehog, don't be fooled by the spikes all over your body. Grandpa Pig has a way to kill you, and it's in real life. Do you believe me?" A wild boar demon beast looked at the hedgehog demon beast beside it and said fiercely. Seeing that the demon race lords did not respond, the demon race players did not hesitate to threaten them. In fact, the demon race players just wanted to confirm whether the Godslayer's attack was only once at a time and whether there was a time interval between each attack. If it was not a matter of life and death, they would not casually offend a demon race lord. However, now that the Godslayer was blocking their way, they had no choice but to do this. When the demon race lords felt the undisguised killing intent of their fellow demon race players, they all hurriedly shouted at their subordinates, "Charge!" These demon race lords did not want to die, nor did they want their subordinates to die for nothing. However, they did not want to offend their fellow demon race players. As for the reason, it was very simple. In the game, they were very powerful. However, in the real world, they were not that powerful. No demon beast was willing to be their subordinate. Even if there were not many of them. If they refused, once they returned to the real world, they would definitely be besieged by these demon race players. This was not a situation they wanted to see happen. Once the demon race lords gave their orders, millions of demon soldiers immediately rushed out and rushed towards the 500-mile-long ravine that ran from east to west. At this moment, the Godslayer shook. Buzz. There was a buzzing sound. 8 rays of black light instantly shot out from the Godslayer's spear. In the next second, the 8 rays of black light flashed across the north and south. At the same time, the sound of the earth being torn apart was instantly heard. Boom, 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 the originally flat ground was instantly split open into 8 huge ravines that were 15 miles long. And the demon soldiers that rushed towards the ravines were all turned into ashes without exception. Bang, 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 the sound of dense footsteps could be heard instantly. The remaining demon race players in the 8 demon armies all took a dozen steps back in unison. The hair on their bodies stood up, and the pupils in their eyes shrank again and again. At this moment, their bodies also trembled uncontrollably. Boom, boom, boom. The dull and loud roars of magma sounded from the ravines one after another, reaching the ears of the demon race players. When the demon race players heard the roars of the magma, they all shuddered in unison. "We can't rush over. Whoever goes over will die. It's useless even if we try to go somewhere else. This spear is there to intimidate us. Whoever dares to go over will be killed." A leopard demon beast looked at the 8 new ravines and shouted in fear. "I was wondering why Yi Chen didn't come over. He's just blocking here with his spear. Damn it, damn it!" A monkey roared with bloodshot eyes. "Change direction. One of the gorilla demonic beasts looked at the god-killing spear hanging in the sky unwillingly, and then roared loudly. After that, the gorilla dashed toward the east. The demonic beasts looked at each other, and one by one, they ran towards the east. 50 miles to the east of the battlefield, the fire spirit pearl that was shining with red light was suspended high in the air. Wave after wave of heat, an aura that could burn everything, came from the fire spirit pearl. Rumble, tens of thousands of beasts ran, and the earth rumbled. Tens of millions of demon beasts were divided into 12 groups and ran towards this place. As they ran, the feeling of getting hotter and hotter appeared in their hearts. Damn it, what's going on? Why is it getting hotter and hotter? A lion demon beast ran wildly, sticking out its tongue as it roared in annoyance. Chapter 5:23. You feel the heat too? The green wolf beside the lion beast couldn't help but ask when it heard this. Nonsense, would I say that if it wasn't hot? The lion beast roared in annoyance. The green wolf beast was enraged when it heard this, and a murderous glint shot out from its eyes. When the lion beast sensed the killing intent from the green wolf, its already annoyed mood exploded. Without thinking, it turned its head and opened its mouth to bite. The green wolf beast that was about to attack was shocked. However, before it could make a defensive move, its neck was bitten by the lion beast. Crack! A loud sound was heard. The green wolf beast's neck was bitten off by the lion beast in one bite. Zzzz, scarlet wolf blood spurted out instantly, staining the lion beast's mouth and its long golden fur. The demonic beasts around the lion demonic beast continued to run forward as if their lives depended on it. No one looked at the dead green wolf demonic beast. This was because fighting between demonic beasts was a common occurrence for these demonic beasts. Although they had invaded the human world together, they had been fighting and killing each other every day. Moreover, they were running for their lives now, so they couldn't afford to waste time on such a small matter. In the eyes of the demonic beasts, surviving was the most important thing. Rumble, tens of thousands of beasts ran, and the earth rumbled. The beasts were still running for their lives. However, the feeling of getting hotter and hotter accompanied all the beasts. Annoyance, uneasiness, and panic quickly appeared in the hearts of all the beasts. Then, they became stronger and stronger. Damn it, what's going on? It's not the hottest time yet. Why is it getting hotter and hotter? A toad roared anxiously. Damn it, why do I feel like we're running into a raging fire? A black-furred wild boar with bloodshot eyes roared angrily as it ran. Something's not right. There's no fire in front, and even at the hottest time, it's not this hot. It's like being roasted. A fox beast observed its surroundings as it ran and said in a deep voice. When a black bear heard this, he unhesitatingly roared, "Then what's going on? It can't be that Yi Chen released another spell, right?" As soon as Black Bear's words fell, the surrounding demonic beasts all shuddered. This was the answer they did not want to hear the most. If Yi Chen caught up to them and attacked them, their lives would be in danger. It can't be a spell. If it was a spell, it wouldn't be so slow. A multicolored cat demon beast shook its head and said, "It must be related to Yi Chen. Otherwise, it wouldn't be so strange." A monkey gritted his teeth and roared when he heard this. "Cut the crap and run quickly. Yi Chen doesn't want us to escape. That's why he's using such a special method." The lion that bit the green wolf demonic beast to death roared furiously. When the demonic beasts heard this, they looked at each other and continued to run. Rumble, just as the demonic beasts were 10 miles away from the fire spirit pearl, the fire spirit pearl in the sky suddenly shook. There was a buzzing sound, and a red light suddenly shot out from the fire spirit pearl. In the next second, the red light traversed 250 miles from north to south. At the same time, a series of explosions sounded from the ground. Boom, boom, boom. A firewall that was more than 10 meters wide suddenly appeared on the ground that traversed 250 miles from north to south. Without exception, The demonic beasts in front of the demonic beast army were all covered by the fire wall and burned violently. Roar! Roar! An extremely mournful howl instantly rang out. However, in the next second the howls stopped abruptly. The demonic beasts that were covered by the fire wall were directly burned to death by the fire wall. Bang, 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 a series of collapsing sounds could be heard. The corpses of the demonic beasts that were burned to death by the fire wall fell heavily to the ground. The sudden turn of events scared the demonic beast army, which was running wildly, to a halt. They had guessed that Yi Chen had released a spell, but there were no traces of it in front or behind them. Therefore, they continued to run wildly just to have a chance to leave the battlefield, leave Luoyang, and then stay far away from Yi Chen. But now, the sudden appearance of the fire undoubtedly told them one thing. Yi Chen really released a spell. Moreover, it was a big move. Otherwise, why would there be a fire wall that spanned 250 miles from north to south? The most terrifying thing was that the power of the fire wall was too ferocious. It burned their own kind to death in a single blow. Bang, 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 dense footsteps instantly sounded as the demonic beasts came back to their senses. Tens of millions of demonic beasts took more than 10 steps back in unison. Yi Chen has made his move. A large rat looked at the incomparably hot wall of fire and shouted with a frightened expression. As soon as the big rat finished speaking, the demonic beasts looked around at the same time. However, they did not see Yi Chen's figure at all. In the next second, the demonic beasts looked at the sky at the same time and were stunned on the spot. Yi Chen was not in the sky, but there was a pearl emitting a fiery light in the sky. This wall of fire was created by that bead? A black dog exclaimed in shock. It should be. Yi Chen is not here. A white snake gulped and said, This is a divine artifact? Yi Chen's divine artifact? A monkey suddenly thought of something and shouted in shock. It doesn't matter what it is. What's important is why this fire wall is not extinguishing. A fox demonic beast looked at the fire wall that did not weaken and said gloomily, It doesn't matter if it doesn't extinguish. The problem is that this fire is too fierce. We'll be burned to death if we go in. A toad said with fear in its eyes. As soon as the toad said that, the demonic beasts fell silent. They had no way to deal with this firewall. Go around it. No matter how long this firewall is, it can't be endless. There must be an end. The fox demonic beast looked at the firewall and shouted in a deep voice. After that, it ran towards the south. The demonic beasts looked at each other and nodded at the same time. Then, they followed the fox demonic beast and ran towards the south along the firewall. At the entrance of the valley, Yi Chen, who was riding the Pegasus Little Gold, looked to the east and smiled coldly. Go around it? They thought too much. Yi Chen used the Godslayer, the Fire Spirit Pearl, the Qiankuan Bow, and the Heaven-Shaking Arrow to prevent the demonic beasts from leaving the battlefield. Naturally, he would not create any loopholes for the demonic beasts to take advantage of. No matter where the demonic beasts went, it was useless. Even if they were 500 miles away, they could not get out. If they were not taken down by the Heaven-Shaking Arrow, they would be taken down by the Godslayer. If the demonic beasts ran to the west, they would be killed by Yi Chen. Therefore, Yi Chen was not worried about the demonic beasts escaping at all. 500 miles south of the battlefield. Bang, 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 the incomparably dense sound of bones breaking rang out one after another. 3 heaven-shaking arrows weaved back and forth in the demonic beast army. The demonic beasts that wanted to escape the battlefield had their leg bones shattered by the heaven-shaking arrows, and they fell heavily to the ground. Miserable howls and curses rose and fell one after another. Chapter 524. Ow! Yi Chen! You despicable and shameless man! Roar! Bastard! Bastard! Grandpa Nyo is not satisfied. The demonic beasts were not satisfied, but there was nothing they could do. Their limbs were broken, and they could only wait for death to come. On the battlefield. Rumble, thousands of horses galloped and the earth rumbled. The 9 million cavalrymen of Samsara City were led by Zhao Yun, Dian Xiong, Guan Er, Zhang San, and other generals. They charged ferociously. Their movements were simple, but their attacks were domineering. They were getting more and more proficient and violent as they reaped the lives of the demonic beasts. At the entrance of the valley, Yi Chun scanned the recruits of Samsara City with his divine senses. He could not help but smile. Not bad, they are about to enter the Khanate realm. At the thought of this, Yi Chun triggered his thoughts and 9 million divine-level cultivation manuals appeared beside Yi Chun. These manuals came from Yi Chun's storage space. They were the spoils of war that Yi Chun had obtained when he led the troops to quell the rebellion and annihilate the demonic beast. Yi Chun had originally intended to reward the soldiers. Now that the recruits of Samsara City were about to enter the Khanate realm, Yi Chun would naturally use them. Of course, among the 9 million cavalrymen of Samsara City, the 400,000 cavalrymen who followed Zhao Yun, Dian Xiong, Zhao Meng, and Gao Shun had already entered the Khanate realm. However, they did not practice the divine-level cultivation manuals. Otherwise, Yi Chun would not have taken out 9 million divine-level cultivation manuals. Yi Chun glanced at the 1,900,000 sage-grade cultivation manuals floating in the air. He smiled faintly and then moved his mind. In the next second, the 9 million divine-level cultivation manuals flew toward the charging cavalrymen of Samsara City. After 3 breaths, the 9 million divine-level cultivation manuals flew to the cavalrymen of Samsara City. At the same time, Yi Chun's voice sounded in the sky. These are the divine-level cultivation manuals. Learn them quickly and kill the demonic beasts with all your might. When the charging cavalrymen of Samsara City heard this, they immediately snapped out of their daze. Without hesitation, they grabbed the divine-level cultivation technique beside them and chose to use it. In the next second, 9 million rays of light shot out from the bodies of the Samsara City soldiers. When the light dissipated, the 9 million cavalrymen of Samsara City raised their weapons and roared, "Thank you, my lord. We pledge our lives to follow the Lord." Their words were simple, but their voices were filled with excitement and gratitude. They were born poor, but they were not ignorant. How could they not know what kind of existence a saint-grade cultivation technique was? That was the great Han dynasty's top cultivation technique. Once one mastered it, becoming a saint-rank general was no longer a fantasy. Of course, they also knew that if they hadn't followed Yi Chun, not to mention breaking through to the Xiantian realm and becoming king-level generals, they wouldn't even be able to obtain the equipment they had now. But now they possessed equipment that countless people would be envious of, and even obtained a saint-tier cultivation technique that would make countless clans in the great Han Empire green with envy. How could they not be excited? How could they not be grateful? As the 9 million cavalrymen of Samsara City shouted, their fighting spirit, which was already raging, shot up to the sky. Then, they charged towards the demonic beast army that was fleeing in all directions. Rumble, rumble, in just a breath's time, the charging cavalrymen of Samsara City increased their speed by another notch. Raging killing intent, shocking fighting spirit, and an indomitable aura quickly gathered in one place and swept towards the demonic beast army. Regardless of whether it was the demonic beasts that were fleeing in all directions or the demonic beasts that had transformed their bodies to fight against the cavalrymen of Samsara City, their hearts trembled at the same time. Outside the valley, Yi Chun, who was riding on the Pegasus Xiao Jin, felt the change in the aura of the cavalrymen of Samsara City. He couldn't help but be stunned. At this moment, the system notification sounded. Ding! Congratulations to player Yi Chun, Samsara Immortal City Soldier, for comprehending the God of War's will, army. When the system notification ended, Yi Chun's eyes widened. Damn! I actually comprehended this. At this thought, Yi Chen hurriedly looked at the introduction of God of War's will, army. God of War's will, army. No matter how strong the opponent is, the fighting spirit will never be extinguished. Special features: 1. Attack power x2. 2 seal, 3 seal, 4 seal, 5 seal. After reading the introduction of God of War's will, army, Yi Chen was extremely excited. Damn, it really is the legendary God of War's will, army. Awesome. It was no wonder that Yi Chen was so excited. As long as the army obtained God of War's will, army, they would dare to raise their weapons and attack even sages without fear. At first glance, they seemed like lunatics and idiots. However, this was the key point. How could an army that dared to attack sages be afraid of anything else? Yi Chen walked the path of the emperor. He gathered the heaven and earth's fate chi and ascended. When he reached the eldritch world, he would also fight for territory and the heaven and earth's fate chi. In this way, the army of Samsara City would definitely fight everywhere. Yi Chen was invincible in the beginner's area of the three kingdoms. However, once Yi Chen ascended to the eldritch world, he would definitely be a small fry. At that time, not only would Yi Chen encounter countless powerful enemies, but Yi Chen's army would also encounter them. If the army of Samsara City accidentally encountered an enemy that they could not defeat, the army of Samsara City would very likely be suppressed by the enemy's aura and would be forced to retreat step by step. If they could not defeat the enemy, they could retreat. However, the army of Samsara City could not retreat or be defeated. Once the army of Samsara City was defeated, it could be said that the army of Samsara City was basically crippled. Even if Yi Chen gave them more resources and stronger weapons, it would be useless. This was because willpower was involved. Once a person's willpower was defeated, it would be extremely difficult to rise again. This was because once the inner demon arose, one's cultivation would be stuck in the same place. If one forced a breakthrough, there would only be one result: death. In the Eldritch world, the first round of the war was a battle of willpower. It seemed safe, but it was actually extremely dangerous. If they won, their aura would be suppressed. If they lost, their combat strength would be reduced, they would be defeated, and they would be completely crippled. It was also for this reason that Yi Chen valued the will of the God of War army, that his soldiers had suddenly comprehended so much. After all, once Yi Chen ascended to the Eldritch world, once he started to fight, the first thing he would face was a battle of willpower. Of course, the possibility of Yi Chen's soldiers' willpower being defeated was not high. However, Yi Chen had to be careful. Now that Yi Chen's army had comprehended the will of the God of War army, he naturally did not have to worry about the battle of willpower between the armies. This was because an army with the will of the God of War army could not possibly lose. Chapter 525. Of course, the will of the God of War army wasn't just indestructible. It also had 5 main characteristics. Just the first characteristic, attack power x2, was already an overpowered characteristic, not to mention the other 4. Of course, Yi Chen didn't know what the other 4 characteristics of the will of the God of War army were. This was because even in the ancient world, the will of the God of War only existed in legends. No army had ever obtained the will of the God of War. Therefore, Yi Chen didn't know what the other 4 characteristics were. However, this wasn't important. What was important was that Yi Chen's army now had the will of the God of War army. This way, Yi Chen's ascension would be 10 times, or even 100 times smoother. The rewards this time were really bountiful. Ha ha, thinking of this, Yi Chen couldn't help but laugh wildly. At this moment, a world announcement suddenly sounded. Ding! The Reincarnation Immortal City Army has comprehended a unique battle characteristic, Will of the God of War Army. Due to its uniqueness, the Reincarnation Immortal City is rewarded with a unique title, War God City. The world announcement was repeated 3 times, instantly exploding the already lively world channel. F***CK. F***CK. What will of the god of war? What war god city? F***CK. Why do I feel so annoyed when I hear it? F***CK. This damn world announcement, why didn't they reveal the attributes of the will of the god of war and war god city? Why did they hide it? Ha ha ha, Boss Yi Chen is the best. Will of the god of war and war god city, one look and you can tell that it's awesome. F***CK. I only saw the word unique. F***CK. Yi Chen is already so strong, and now he got such a reward. I can't play happily anymore. I just want to say, this is F***King cheating. Cheating. F***CK. This must be cheating. I haven't seen anything with a unique attribute yet, not even a titled character. Yi Chen actually got it. If this isn't cheating, then what is? Cheating? Why don't you try to cheat in this game for me to see, idiot? F***CK your mother. It's useless for an idiot like you to suck up to Yi Chen. He's ignoring you. Stop F***King arguing. Are you all stupid? Can't you see that Yi Chen has a secret? You're talking nonsense. It would be strange if Yi Chen didn't have any secrets. I guessed it from the start. Unfortunately, Yi Chen didn't say anything. Yi Chen, you're already so F***King awesome, so why are you still hiding things? You should have told us all the secrets you know, right? You can't be so selfish. The real world will soon be in danger. That's right, Yi Chen. For the sake of the human race's future, you should tell us the secret. Otherwise, the human race will be finished. You don't plan on living alone, do you? Yi Chen glanced at the world channel, which was constantly being updated, and frowned. Previously, Yi Chen had received a lot of benefits. In order to obtain the benefits, the players had used the righteousness of the human race to persuade Yi Chen. In the end, the players gave up because Yi Chen was not moved at all. And now Yi Chen's reward was too special. As it had the word one and only in it, it immediately drew out the greed, and despicableness in the players' hearts. Therefore, the players once again persuaded Yi Chen. And Yi Chen had already seen through all of this. Naturally, he ignored the players. However, what Yi Chen did not expect was that the number of players persuading Yi Chen to reveal the game's secret was more than 100 times more than before. Did these people have the confidence to do so? They actually have designs on me again. After a moment of silence, Yi Chen suddenly thought of something and narrowed his eyes. They really are emboldened, a bunch of ignorant idiots. Countless demons that had invaded the human world had been killed by Yi Chen. Although 99% of the demons were still alive because of their identity as players, their realms had dropped to that of ferocious beasts. Although it was only a drop of one realm, the difference in strength was like heaven and earth. There was no comparison at all. And now, the main demon army was blocked by Yi Chen in Luoyang. In the end, these demons would be killed by Yi Chen. And the human players also made this deduction through the world channel. Therefore, they began to become emboldened and emboldened. Then, under the guise of righteousness of the human race, they once again persuaded Yi Chen to reveal the game's secret. In the eyes of the human players, the invading demon army would eventually be destroyed. This was because with a freak like Yi Chen around, it was impossible for the human race to lose. This way, when the human race faced the demons in the real world, they did not have to worry about the overwhelming number of demons. They only needed to deal with ferocious beasts. And this was the source of the human players' confidence. After all, what the humans were afraid of was the number of demons and their tyrannical strength. Without the demon army, the threat of the demons was not as strong compared to the human race. In the safe cities in the real world, although there were not many people who had reached the Khanate realm, it was not a problem to have dozens or hundreds of people. As for the rest, although most of them had not broken through to the Khanate realm, they were not far from it. Therefore, the human players were no longer worried about being besieged and hunted by the demons after the protective shield of the safe cities disappeared. Many people even began to fantasize about suppressing the demons and allowing the human race to dominate the world again. Unfortunately, they did not know that this was only their wishful thinking. The reality was that after the protective shield of the safe cities disappeared, the spirit energy in the real world would rapidly increase, and all kinds of natural treasures would appear like a geyser. After that, all the species on Earth would undergo extraordinary evolution, and the cultivation speed of all living beings would increase rapidly. This way, the demons that had fallen to the ferocious beast realm would quickly recover to the ferocious beast realm. Therefore, the so-called safe cities would only be extended by a few days at most. Even if the spirit energy in the world did not increase rapidly and natural treasures did not appear, the speed of the demons' cultivation would not be too slow. After all, the demons that had fallen to the ferocious beast realm only needed a period of recovery. A bunch of ignorant fools. They thought that they were safe, so they did not hide their despicable and shameless hearts. They all used the excuse of "for the human race" to cheat others. At this thought, Yi Chen curled his lips in disdain and looked at the attributes of War God City. War God City. Unique. The soldiers in the city with this title will automatically receive the blessing of War God's will. Seeing this, Yi Chen's eyes lit up. Holy shit! This works. Reincarnation City had evolved into Reincarnation Immortal City and had the characteristic of unlimited growth. When Yi Chen ascended to the immortal realm, he would bring all the citizens into Reincarnation Immortal City and then ascend. Of course, this was not important. What was important was that all the soldiers under Yi Chen's command would come from Reincarnation Immortal City. In this way, no matter how many soldiers Yi Chen had, they would all receive the blessing of War God's will. This was undoubtedly a good thing for Yi Chen. Rumble, rumble, thousands of horses galloped and the earth rumbled. The cavalry of Reincarnation City, who had just comprehended War God's will army, instantly turned into an extremely sharp blade. The speed at which they cut and killed the ferocious beasts suddenly doubled. Boom, boom, boom. Not long after, a powerful aura rose from the cavalry of Reincarnation City. This was the aura of advancement. The Reincarnation City recruits had gained a large amount of experience points from killing the ferocious beasts. With the help of the divine level cultivation techniques, one by one, they advanced to the next level. Khanate Realm, King Level General. Yi Chen nodded his head in satisfaction as he sensed more and more of his subordinates advancing to the next level. At this moment, countless pillars of light suddenly descended on the battlefield. Chapter 526. Yi Chen narrowed his eyes when he saw the pillar of light. A large number of players came online at the same time. Any player who came online would have a pillar of light appear. Yi Chen was also a player, so he knew about this. However, there were a large number of players online this time. At a glance, there were at least 1 million of them. Of course, this was not important. What was important was that these players were all online at the battlefield outside of Luoyang. If this was in the past, Yi Chen would not have cared even if he saw it. However, Yi Chen's army was in the middle of killing the goblin army. Suddenly, a large number of players came online at the same time. This was not right. The players knew that the goblin army was gathering at Luoyang. As long as they were not idiots, they would not stay outside of Luoyang. After all, the goblin army of billions of beasts was too large. Moreover, they were all goblin beasts. Normal players would not be able to fight against them. Therefore, when the players knew that the goblin army was gathering at Luoyang, the first thing they would do was to leave Luoyang. Otherwise, they would die. But now, there were over 1 million players online outside of Luoyang. It would be strange if they did not have any plans. Of course, this was not important to Yi Chen. No matter what plans the players had, as long as they interfered with Yi Chen, became enemies with Yi Chen, or tried to take advantage of Yi Chen, Yi Chen would not hesitate to kill them all. To put it simply, Yi Chen did not treat the players as special opponents. However, the sudden appearance of over 1 million players made Yi Chen pay attention to them. It was not because of their plans or their sudden appearance, but because of the person who told them to come online. The players knew the number of goblins outside of Luoyang very well. Even if they had a plan, it was impossible for them not to know how dangerous it was to come online in the middle of the goblin army. However, the reality was that a large number of players had come online, and they were right outside of Luoyang. The truth was obvious. Someone had tipped off the players. Otherwise, no matter how bold the players were, they wouldn't have dared to come online in the middle of the shifter army. When the Golden Turban Rebellion started, Luoyang City had teleported all the players out of the city, so there shouldn't be any players left. My divine sense covered a radius of 1,000 miles. Although countless players were rushing toward Luoyang, there were no players around Luoyang. Strange. How did these people know that the demonic beast army outside Luoyang City was being chased by the Samsara City army? Thinking of this, Yi Chen frowned again, and then his mind moved. In the next second, all of the glittering items on the battlefield rose into the air and flew towards Yi Chen in an overwhelming manner. Yi Chen still couldn't figure out the reason, but he wouldn't let these millions of players who had suddenly come online to snatch his loot. Yi Chen was a player, and a player who had reincarnated. Naturally, he knew how treacherous the players after Meteor Fall were. He also knew how shameless, greedy, and hypocritical they were. Of course, not everyone was like this. There were still some who hadn't lost their true nature. However, as time passed, there were fewer and fewer people like this. This was because if they didn't die at the hands of the shifter race, then they died at the hands of these selfish, greedy, and treacherous people. At this moment, the pillar of light disappeared, and the millions of players appeared on the spot. The moment they appeared, they hurriedly took out their weapons and looked around vigilantly. When they saw the demonic beast corpses that covered the ground, they weren't surprised. Clearly, they understood the situation on the battlefield. Otherwise, they wouldn't have acted like this. However, when these people raised their heads one by one because of the unceasingly flickering light in the sky that covered the sky and covered the sun, their expressions immediately became ugly. Damn it, we were a step too late. These things are all flying away. A middle-aged man looked at the equipment, techniques, and blueprints flying towards the entrance of the valley and said with a gloomy voice. A young man in his 20s looked at the equipment, techniques, and blueprints flying away and said with gritted teeth, "Damn it. We underestimated Yi Chen's ability. I originally thought that he would only be able to pick up these equipment. I didn't expect him to be able to control objects, and from so far away. Those techniques are shining brightly. They are at least Overlord level or even Saint level technique. It's a pity that we didn't get them," a fat man said with a look of pity. "Damn it, there are too many of these techniques and equipment. According to Yi Chen's character, he will definitely let his soldiers learn Saint-level technique. If this continues, how are we going to control him?" A man in his 20s with oily hair and a powdered face glared at the entrance of the valley and asked. A middle-aged man in his 30s with a murderous aura sneered and said, "It's very difficult to control him. It's very difficult to restrain him. His realm is many levels higher than ours. If I'm not wrong, Yi Chen must have also obtained a gaming capsule. Moreover, it's a top-grade gaming capsule. Otherwise, it's impossible for his strength to increase so quickly. What's the point of saying all this? Even if he got it with our strength, do you think we can snatch it from him? Hurry up, it's time to carry out the next step of the plan." A man with a face full of scars curled his lips in disdain when he heard this. An unbelievably thin man couldn't help but sigh when he heard this. Then, he opened his mouth and said, "Indeed, even if we gather everyone's strength, we won't be able to take down Yi Chen alone. However, Scar, Are you sure that the formation you mentioned is powerful enough? Heaven and Earth Alliance's Mo Yen isn't that easy to deal with. With that treasure, he's like an old bastard. Damn it, we can't break through his defense at all. When the scar-faced man heard this, he glanced at the skinny man and said in a deep voice, "If I wasn't confident, why would I look for you? I'm not stupid. How could I not know that if I can't kill Mo Yen, I'll be done for? But if any of you don't do anything, don't blame me for being merciless. I might not be a big shot, but I'm not called Demon Imbibing Saber for nothing. Don't worry, as long as the formation you mentioned is effective, Mo Yen will definitely die. Besides, we'll continue working together in the future. Don't forget, Yi Chen's treasures aren't any less than Mo Yan's." A middle-aged man with the aura of a superior walked out from the crowd at this moment. He glanced at the scar-faced man and spoke with an extremely serious tone. At the entrance of the valley, Yi Chen, who was riding on the Pegasus Little Gold, widened his eyes when he heard this. Mo Yen, the Alliance Master of Heaven and Earth Alliance, Earth Spirit Pearl. Chapter 527. Yi Chen did not expect Mo Yen to appear here. Of course, what Yi Chen did not expect was that Mo Yen had already obtained the Earth Spiritual Orb and had even refined a part of it. Otherwise, those players who suddenly came online would not have said that Mo Yen had super strong defense and even called him an old tortoise. After refining the Earth Spirit Pearl, even if the owner did not use the Earth Spirit Pearl, it would automatically create a defensive barrier when it was attacked. Such a defensive barrier could not be broken by normal attack. It was also because of this that Mo Yen was often called an old tortoise in his previous life. He was just thinking about collecting the 5 elements spiritual orb after dealing with the shifters, but Mo Yen appeared. His luck was not bad. When Yi Chen thought of this, he could not help but be stunned. When he came back to his senses, he suddenly understood. Damn, I was wondering why these people were so bold to come online in the middle of an army of millions of shifters. So it was Mo Yen, that idiot, who informed them that the shifters outside Luoyang City were being killed by the Samsara City army. Mo Yen was the owner of the Earth Spiritual Orb. Other than having super strong defense, he could also use the Earth Spiritual Orb's special ability, Burrow. Just now, Yi Chen's divine sense had only scanned the ground and not the ground. Otherwise, Mo Yen would not have been able to escape Yi Chen's divine sense, and Yi Chen would not have any doubts. No matter what these millions of players and Mo Yen are planning, it has nothing to do with me. However, these idiots dared to target me. They must be tired of living. When he thought of this, Yi Chen's eyes narrowed and a cold light flashed across them. In his previous life, Yi Chen had seen too many despicable, dirty, and twisted human nature. To Yi Chen, no matter what others did, Yi Chen would not care. However, the prerequisite was that they did not have any enmity towards Yi Chen. Once someone showed any enmity towards Yi Chen or even wanted to attack Yi Chen would not hesitate to use violent methods. Moreover, Yi Chen did not care about the other party's identity, status, gender, age. As long as it was an enemy, Yi Chen would only do one thing, and that was to kill them mercilessly. When he thought of this, Yi Chen's divine sense moved and instantly probed the ground. In the next second, a middle-aged man in his 30s who was covered in a golden protective barrier appeared in Yi Chen's divine sense. The moment he saw him, Yi Chen recognized him. It was the Heaven and Earth Alliance Master, Mo Yen. She didn't know if Mo Yen had encountered something like this in his previous life. If he did, he would not have fallen into this trap. But if he did not, then he would have died. Just as Yi Chen thought of this, the scar-faced man waved his right hand and a scarlet disc suddenly appeared in his hand. The moment he saw the disc, Yi Chen could not help but raise his eyebrows. A 9-abyss soul-devouring formation disc that could only be used once. I was wondering why this scar-faced man was so confident. So it was because of this. However, this guy was really sinister. The Nine Abyss Soul-Devouring Formation was an extremely special formation. It was extremely powerful, and could devour the souls of those who fell into the formation and then produce spirit ghosts. Spirit ghosts were similar to soul-type pet. They could be cultivated and controlled, but their future achievements would not be very high. If the person who set up the formation was ruthless and included the people who were the foundation of the formation in the formation's devouring range, then the formation would condense an extremely special existence, a heavenly ghost. Heavenly ghosts had the ability to grow and could also cultivate. Moreover, their strength would increase very quickly. What was even more terrifying was that heavenly ghosts could cultivate to the level of celestial immortals. In Yi Chen's previous life, there were a few people who had used the Nine Abyss Soul-Devouring Formation to refine heavenly ghosts. The strongest of them had reached the level of celestial immortals. As for Yi Chen's claim that the scar-faced man was sinister, it was not without basis. In Yi Chen's previous life, he had never heard of players who obtained the Nine Abyss Soul-Devouring Formation disc not plotting against others. As for the reason, it was very simple. Players who obtained the Nine Abyss Soul-Devouring Formation disc would find it very difficult to resist the attraction of heavenly ghosts. It should be known that having a heavenly ghost was not as simple as 1+1 for a player. To be more precise, once a player had a Akasha demon, they would be several times or even dozens of times stronger than others, be it in terms of killing monsters and looting cultivation resources, or even in terms of being a tyrant. Of course, this was for ordinary players. It did not apply to Yi Chen. This was because Yi Chen had an army and was going to establish a dynasty of providence in the future. Most importantly, Yi Chen did not want to have a heavenly ghost by his side. Although heavenly ghosts were not bad, they were still ghosts in the end. Moreover, they relied on their master's essence blood to survive. Yi Chen did not have the time to use his essence blood to feed a heavenly ghost that could only reach the level of celestial immortal. Just as Yi Chen thought of this, the scar-faced man looked at the middle-aged man who exuded the aura of a superior with a smug expression and said, "Alliance Master Mu, I will activate this formation now. However, brothers of the Templar Hall must stand in the designated position within 3 seconds. Otherwise, the formation will not be activated." Yi Chen, who had been observing the millions of players with his divine sense, opened his eyes slightly when he heard this. The Templar Hall, Mu Qingfeng. In the next second, Yi Chen's eyes suddenly widened. Holy shit! The Wood Spirit Orb! Mu Qingfeng was the new Alliance Master of the Templar Hall. He had forced the Beauties Alliance to seek help from Yi Chen. In the end, he had even threatened Yi Chen to teach Yi Chen a lesson. Of course, this was not important. What was important was that Mu Qingfeng was the owner of the Wood Spirit Orb. Yi Chen had originally planned to deal with the monsters around Luoyang before heading to the Templar Hall. He would then kill Mu Qingfeng and obtain the Wood Spirit Orb. Who would have thought that Mu Qingfeng was the one who had set his sights on Mo Yen? Damn, today's luck was pretty good. I encountered the Wood Spirit Orb and the Earth Spirit Orb. Thinking of this, Yi Chen could not help but smirk. At the location of the millions of players. After hearing the scar-faced man's words, Mu Qingfeng chuckled and nodded. He then looked at his millions of subordinates and shouted, "Listen up! Once Brother Dao uses the formation, everyone stand in the designated position immediately. If anyone dares to be slow by even a second, I will kill him. Yes, Alliance Master." When the Templar Hall players heard this, they hurriedly bowed and responded. Mu Qingfeng nodded in satisfaction. He then looked at the scar-faced man and said, "Brother Dao, please." "All right." The scar-faced man nodded and threw the 9 Gloom Soul-Devouring Formation in his right hand. In the next second, the 9 Gloom Soul-Devouring Formation disc instantly turned into a ball of black light and rapidly spread out. After a breath's time, a gigantic disc of black light appeared in the sky. Inside there were countless pitch-black runes. All sorts of twisted lines intertwined. It looked messy, but it also gave off an extremely profound feeling. Just as the players began to size up the 9 gloom soul-devouring formation, the black disk instantly covered the ground and disappeared. When the scar-faced man saw this, he immediately shouted, "Countless black spots will appear soon. Everyone will take one. When they appear, step on them." Chapter 528. The moment the scar-faced man finished speaking, the expressions of the 1,000,000 Holy Hall players changed. However, no one responded to the scar-faced man. All of them stood still. "Brother Blade, let's begin." The Alliance Master of the Holy Hall, Mu Qingfeng, glanced at the scar-faced man with a cold glint in his eyes. When the scar-faced man heard this, he nodded and pointed at the ground with his right hand. A buzzing sound was heard. Countless black spots appeared on the ground. When Mu Qingfeng saw this, his eyes widened and he shouted, "Go up!" The 1,000,000 Holy Hall players hurriedly stood on the black spots. When the scar-faced man saw the 1,000,000 Holy Hall players standing on the black spots, a hint of joy that was difficult to detect flashed in his eyes. However, in the next second, the scar-faced man frowned and looked at Mu Qingfeng. "Alliance Master Mu, the more people participate in the formation, the stronger the formation will be. Without you, the formation's power will be greatly reduced, and it might not be able to kill Mo Yen." When Mu Qingfeng heard this, he glanced at the scar-faced man and said, "Brother Blade, I'm not that much stronger than the others. Whether I'm there or not, it won't make a difference." When the scar-faced man heard Mu Qingfeng's words, he was slightly stunned. He then nodded and said, "All right, I'll inform Mo Yen to come up. Alliance Master Mu, you just have to hold the line." After the scar-faced man finished speaking, he opened his contact list and called Mo Yen to come up from the ground. After a few breaths, a yellow protective barrier rose from the ground. In the next second, a middle-aged man appeared on the ground. "Alliance Master." When the scar-faced man saw the middle-aged man, a greedy gaze flashed in his eyes. He then bowed and greeted the middle-aged man. The middle-aged man was the Alliance Master of the Heaven and Earth Alliance, Mo Yen. The moment he appeared, he frowned and looked at the scar-faced man. "Why are there only people from the Holy Hall here? Where are our people?" While Mo Yen asked, he looked at his contact list. When he saw that his friends were all grayed out because they were from Heaven and Earth Alliance, his expression instantly changed. At this moment, countless black runes suddenly appeared on the ground and started spinning rapidly. At the same time, a cold and strange aura instantly rose from the ground. "Scar! How dare you betray me?" No matter how stupid Mo Yen was, he knew that the situation was not right. However, just as he was about to attack in anger, over 1,000,000 black rays of light suddenly pierced towards Mo Yen, who was enveloped by the yellow protective barrier. In an instant, the yellow protective barrier turned pitch black. When the scarred man saw this, his eyes immediately revealed a ferocious look. However, in the next second, the scar-faced man's expression changed. "How is this possible?" The knife-scarred man had never thought that the 9 Serenity's soul-devouring formation, which he thought was foolproof, would fail to lock onto Mo Yan's soul. "Scar! Traitors must die!" Mo Yan's furious and cold roar rang out at this moment. When the scarred man heard this, he shuddered. He had never thought that the array formation would not be able to trap Mo Yen. In fact, the scarred man had no idea what a connate spiritual treasure was, much less how powerful it was. To be more precise, anyone who had a connate spiritual treasure was very difficult to kill, unless they also had a connate spiritual treasure, or their cultivation was much higher than the person who had a connate spiritual treasure. Although the scarred man's 9 Serenity's soul-devouring formation was very powerful, the strength of the person who set it up was not enough. This was the main reason why the 9 Serenity's soul-devouring formation could not trap Mo Yen. Just when the scarred man was about to run away in fear, a boom sound was heard. Behind Mo Yen, an incomparably huge vine suddenly drilled out, and then directly entangled Mo Yen. In the blink of an eye, the blackened protective barrier outside Mo Yan's body was tightly wrapped by the vine. Mo Yen, the leader of the Heaven and Earth Alliance, who was about to start a massacre, suddenly changed his expression. He sensed danger. To be more precise, he sensed that the protective barrier was being devoured and weakened. Mo Yen, who noticed this, hurriedly activated the Earth's spiritual pearl, wanting to increase the strength of the protective barrier. However, the moment he strengthened the protective barrier, it was forcefully devoured by an equally strong force. What was even more terrifying was that the devouring force was getting stronger and stronger. How can this be? Mo Yen roared in terror. Ever since he obtained the Earth's spiritual pearl and refined a strand of it, he had never been defeated. The tyrannical power of the Earth's spiritual pearl gave him an incomparable amount of confidence. He firmly believed that he would become the strongest existence of the human race. Even if he was compared to the strongest of the human race, Yi Chen, he would not be that much inferior. As long as he was given time and opportunity, he would quickly rise up and become the strongest of the human race. It was also because of this goal that he came up with a rise up plan. To be more precise, when Lu Hong's life was in danger, he would save Lu Hong. This way, he would obtain an official position comparable to Yi Chen, or even higher than Yi Chen's. Then, he would be able to openly form an army. After that, he would be able to sweep through and plunder everything. And his trump card was the Earth's spiritual pearl's ability to burrow through the ground. But in the end, after the demons surrounded Luoyang, he secretly tried to use the Earth's spiritual pearl's ability to burrow into Luoyang. However, he failed because Luoyang was surrounded by a protective barrier. Even if there was one underground, he could not get through at all. What made him even more conflicted was that his attempt made him realize his weakness. He could not use the Earth's spiritual pearl's ability to burrow through the ground for a long time. It was also because of this reason that he agreed to the Scar-Faced Man's sneak attack plan. He cooperated with the Templar and used the Templar to hold back the demon army while he took action to save Lu Hong. As for the rest, he would split the credit and seek an official position from Lu Hong. Naturally, the Templar would not get a share. His plan was already perfect. Who would have thought that his subordinate, the Scar-Faced Man, would betray him and even plot against him? Of course, that alone was not enough to scare him. What scared him the most was that there was an equally strong force devouring the Earth's spiritual pearl's energy that he could use. Once the energy was completely devoured, he would be completely finished. Scar, if you stop now, I can let bygones be bygones. Although Mo Yen was terrified, he forced himself to calm down. This was because he knew that he could not show weakness. Otherwise, he would really be finished. Unfortunately, no matter how much he forced himself to calm down, his previous cry of alarm betrayed his current state. Although the Scar-Faced Man in charge of the 9 Serenities' soul-devouring formation knew that Mo Yen was pretending to be calm, he did not respond to Mo Yen. Instead, he looked directly at the Templar Alliance's Alliance Master, Mu Qingfeng, who was outside the 9 Serenities' soul-devouring formation. Then, he bowed respectfully and said, "Scar swears to follow the Alliance Master until death. If I violate this oath, may the heavens and earth destroy me." Chapter 529. The Scar-Faced Man's voice was very humble and earnest. There was no trace of falsehood in his voice. He was completely different from his previous arrogant self. The Alliance Master of the Sacred Hall, Mu Qingfeng, glanced at the incomparably humble Scar-Faced Man and said, "Scar, at least you know what's good for you. Once I break Mo Yan's turtle shell, you can refine him to death. Also, that heavenly ghost belongs to me." When the Scar-Faced Man heard this, the humble and respectful expression on his face was instantly replaced by shock and panic. He had never imagined that Mu Qingfeng would know that the Nine Serenities' soul-devouring formation could refine heavenly ghosts. He had originally planned to pretend to submit to Mu Qingfeng, refine the heavenly ghost, and then take it with him and flee. After all, Mu Qingfeng had used magic to completely suppress the so-called undying old tortoise Mo Yen. The scar-faced man simply didn't have the ability to resist Mu Qingfeng, so he had no choice but to flee. But now, Mu Qingfeng's words had completely destroyed the scar-faced man's plans. How could he not be shocked and afraid? It was also at this time that the scar-faced man realized why Mu Qingfeng hadn't entered the Nine Serenities' soul-devouring formation to act as its base. When he thought of how Mu Qingfeng had seen through his plan, the scar-faced man felt unwell. Resentment, anger, and fear filled the scar-faced man's heart at this moment. Outside the Nine Serenities' soul-devouring formation, Mu Qingfeng glanced at the silent scar-faced man and coldly smiled. "Don't test my patience and don't try any tricks. Although I want the heavenly ghost, without you, I can still refine it. It'll just be a waste of time. In addition, if you don't want to die, it's best if you don't run. I still need a servant. You know what I mean?" "Yes, Alliance Master." The scar-faced man did his best to calm his fiercely beating heart and then bowed to the scar-faced man. He was unwilling to accept this. He wanted to resist and destroy Mu Qingfeng, but the cruel reality told him one thing. He couldn't resist and he couldn't run. Otherwise, there would only be one outcome: death. At the entrance of the valley, Yi Chen, who was riding on Little Gold, curled his lips in disdain. This Mu Qingfeng was too good at acting. Although the wood element restrained the earth element, this idiot couldn't move at all. Once he moved, Mo Yen would be able to escape. Although he couldn't escape underground in the Nine Serenities' soul-devouring formation, he could escape underground if he left the formation's range. However, it just so happened that it saved me a lot of trouble. Thinking of this, Yi Chen could not help but raise his eyebrows. The location of the Nine Serenities' soul-devouring formation. The Alliance Master of Heaven and Earth Alliance, Mo Yen, suddenly shouted. "Mu Qingfeng, even if you kill me, don't even think about getting the Earth Soul Pearl. You should know that this kind of heaven-defying treasure can protect the soul from being destroyed. Alliance Leader Mo, you think too much. With the Nine Serenities' soul-devouring formation, do you think you can protect your soul?" Mu Qingfeng raised his eyebrows and said. The eyes of the scar-faced man, who was in charge of the Nine Serenities' soul-devouring formation, flashed. At this moment, Mu Qingfeng slapped his forehead with his left hand and said with a vexed expression, "Look at my memory. Look at my memory, Alliance Leader Mo. I have to tell you a piece of good news. In less than 3 minutes, your body in the real world will be roasted and eaten by the woman you love the most. Are you surprised? Are you surprised?" The moment Mu Qingfeng finished speaking, the scar-faced man's right hand, which was about to move, instantly froze. Then, he calmed down. "What did you say?" The expression of Mo Yen, who was trapped by the vines, changed drastically, and he roared. Mu Qingfeng glanced at Mo Yen, who was trapped by the vines, and picked his ear with his left pinky. Then, he opened his mouth and blew. Only then did he chuckle and say, "Calm down, calm down. Calm down, calm down. Why are you so agitated? Humans need to be calm. That's the only way to live longer. Don't you agree, Alliance Leader Mo?" When Mo Yen heard this, he was silent for a moment. Then, he asked in a hoarse voice, "What's your relationship with Ruanan?" Mu Qingfeng felt the resistance of the Earth Spirit Pearl's barrier, and raised his eyebrows. Then, he said, "No, it's nothing." "Oh right, it can't be said that it's nothing. Her sister is one of my cauldrons." "That's right, Mo Yen. I remember her sister telling me that Sister Renan is her twin. They look exactly the same. Moreover, she's still a virgin, right?" When Mo Yen heard Mu Qingfeng's question, he was instantly enraged. However, he didn't respond to Mu Qingfeng. After another moment of silence, he said in a deep voice, "Mu Qingfeng, let's make a deal." A deal? I love making deals. Before the meteor fall, I was a traitor. Although I was always caught by the security, the identity of a traitor is real. Moreover, I don't cheat anyone. When Mu Qingfeng heard this, he was surprised for a moment. Then, he chuckled and said, Mo Yen tried hard to calm his violently beating heart and said, "You plotted against me for the Earth Spirit Pearl. You plotted against me for the Earth Spirit Pearl. I'll give up the Earth Spirit Pearl. In exchange, you can't touch Ruanan." What plot? You make it sound so unpleasant. However, I don't care. I'm a traitor and an even more practical person. I agree to your deal. When Mu Qingfeng heard this, he said with an angry face. Mo Yen snorted coldly and said, "You better not go back on your words. Otherwise, I won't let you go even if I become a ghost. Stop talking nonsense. Even if you don't give up the Earth Spirit Pearl, it's useless. You'll still die in the end. Moreover, the Earth Spirit Pearl will still belong to me in the end. It's just a matter of time." When Mu Qingfeng heard this, he laughed coldly and said, "Remember our deal. Don't touch Ruanan." When Mo Yen heard this, he was silent for a moment and then shouted in a deep voice. Outside the valley, Yi Chen's divine sense locked onto Mu Qingfeng, Mo Yen, and Scar. He couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. Others couldn't see Mo Yen, who was wrapped in vines, but Yi Chen could see him clearly. Others thought that Mo Yen was at his wits' end, but Yi Chen didn't think so. This was because the Alliance Master of Heaven and Earth Alliance, Mo Yen, took out a yellow pearl. At first glance, it looked like the Earth Spirit Pearl, but in truth, it was a special item called the Origin Magnetic Bomb. It came from a secret realm and was an alchemy item. Although it could only be used once, it was very powerful. Just one of it could destroy everything within a radius of 10 miles. Even those at greater mastery of innate realm would die if they were hit by it. However, it couldn't hurt Mu Qingfeng, who had the Wood Spirit Pearl. Of course, Mo Yan's target wasn't Mu Qingfeng. It was Scar and the 1 million Holy Hall players. As for Mo Yan's goal, it was to destroy the 9 darkness soul-devouring formation that prevented him from burrowing. Next, this brat should be taking out some kind of defensive item. When Yi Chen thought of this, Mo Yen took out a scarecrow and swallowed it without hesitation. The moment he saw the scarecrow, Yi Chen's gaze turned icy cold. Even if he didn't get close, he could still feel the bone-chilling cold. At the same time, Yi Chen's killing intent erupted without holding back. Boom, boom, boom. Violent explosions followed closely behind. The monsters, trees, flowers, and all living things within a radius of 10 miles around Yi Chen instantly exploded and turned into ashes that filled the air. I knew it. In the world after the meteor fell, good people are almost extinct. How could it be so easy to meet a good person? Good person? He's really a good person. Chapter 530. At this moment, Yi Chen was furious. Of course, Yi Chen did not care. The Alliance Master of Heaven and Earth Alliance, Mo Yen, wanted to kill millions of Saint Hall players. After all, after the meteor fell, both the game world and the real world followed the law of the jungle. The strong preyed on the weak. It could even be said that death was the main theme after the meteor fell. Therefore, Yi Chen did not care about killing people. Even Yi Chen himself had killed countless people. However, Yi Chen did not expect that the Alliance Master of Heaven and Earth Alliance, Mo Yen, was even more ruthless than Yi Chen expected. And the reason was because of the scarecrow. Yi Chen had returned to the past, so how could he not know the origin of the scarecrow that Mo Yen ate? It was a substitute scarecrow. Its function was to replace death once, and it was to replace death in the real world. At first glance, the substitute scarecrow was just a tool, and there was nothing special about it. But in reality, it was the complete opposite. The substitute scarecrow was truly an evil tool, and it was a tool that was created. Every substitute scarecrow came from the real world. If one wanted to create a scarecrow successfully, they had to use babies who were no more than 1 year old, and they had to be made into a substitute scarecrow for 100 babies. They had to suffer for 7 days and 7 nights without stopping. Otherwise, the substitute scarecrow would not be able to become a special tool that could be brought into the game world. It was also because of this reason that after the secret of the substitute scarecrow was exposed, it was called an evil tool. But even so, there were still many people who created the substitute scarecrow. The reason was simple. The substitute scarecrow could replace death, whether it was in the game world or in the real world. It was true that Yi Chen did not show mercy when killing people. It was also true that Yi Chen had killed millions of people. But Yi Chen did not kill indiscriminately, and he would not do anything crazy. It could be said that every person who died in Yi Chen's hands was his enemy. They wanted to kill Yi Chen and kill Yi Chen. The people who created the substitute scarecrow were not just ruthless people. They had no principles and had completely lost their humanity. To be more precise, they brought out the ugliness, despicableness, and filth of human nature to the fullest. It was true that every man looked out for himself, but in Yi Chen's opinion, one could not live without a bottom line. The strong preyed on the weak. Similarly, there was a bottom line. People could fight, rob, kill, and build mountains of corpses and seas of bones. Everything was for the sake of living, for the sake of becoming stronger. After all, the world had become like this after the meteor fell, and no one could stay aloof from it. However, if one were to throw away their bottom line, then they wouldn't be fit to be called human. How could a person who used 100 babies to refine a straw man be called a human? Just like Blood Demon King Little Ming, who had been killed by Yi Chen, he was such an existence. It seemed like this scapegoat came from Mo Yin. Thinking of this, Yi Chen narrowed his eyes, an extremely cold light flashing in them. In the next second, Yi Chen clamped his legs on the horse's belly and took a step forward, disappearing without a trace. Outside the 9 hell soul-devouring formation, the space beside Alliance Master Mu Qingfeng suddenly distorted. Mu Qingfeng, who was waiting for Alliance Master Mo Yin to give up on the Earth Spirit Orb, suddenly felt that something was off, and he quickly turned his head to look. In the next second, Mu Qingfeng's eyes widened, and he shouted in shock, "Who are you?" Mu Qingfeng did not expect that someone would be able to ride a horse out of the distorted space. This sort of existence was completely out of the realm of normal. Mu Qingfeng was not the only one who was shocked. The Scarred Man and the 1 million Holy Hall players were also shocked. At this moment, everyone's gazes were focused on Yi Chen. Just as all the players were shocked, Yi Chen, who was riding on Little Gold, grabbed at the air with his left hand. The wood spirit orb floating in front of Mu Qingfeng was instantly grabbed by Yi Chen. "You're asking for death." When Mu Qingfeng saw this, he was instantly enraged, and he shouted. Right after he shouted, he activated the wood spirit orb without hesitation. He wanted to use the wood spirit orb to kill Yi Chen. Because the wood spirit orb was his treasure, he would not allow anyone to touch it, not even a little. At this moment, a ball of extremely hot fire appeared out of nowhere and enveloped Yi Chen's fist. The wood spirit orb that Mu Qingfeng had just activated instantly quieted down. When Mu Qingfeng noticed the abnormality of the wood spirit orb, his expression changed drastically, and he shouted in shock and anger, "How is this possible?" Mu Qingfeng was the owner of the wood spirit orb. He firmly believed that with the wood spirit orb, he would be invincible. Moreover, he did not think that anyone could steal his wood spirit orb. After all, the wood spirit orb was a powerful supreme treasure, and it had already recognized him as its master. However, what Mu Qingfeng did not expect was that the wood spirit orb, which he thought should be invincible, was actually suppressed. The connection between him and the wood spirit orb was still there, but he could not activate it. How could he not be shocked by this terrifying fact? How could he not be terrified? While Mu Qingfeng was terrified, a holy temple player was slightly stunned when he saw Yi Chen riding on the Pegasus Little Gold. Then, he remembered something and immediately shouted in shock. Yi Chen! It's Yi Chen! Only Yi Chen has a golden Pegasus. The moment this person finished speaking, the sound of people sucking in sharp breaths instantly rose. Hiss, a person's name was like a tree's shadow. Yi Chen's strength and brutality were known to everyone. After these players confirmed Yi Chen's identity, how could they not be shocked and afraid? While the Holy Temple players were shocked, Yi Chen looked straight at Mo Yen, the Alliance Master of Heaven and Earth Alliance, who was surrounded by vines. At this moment a bang was heard. The vines surrounding Mo Yen instantly exploded into dust that filled the air. Then, Mo Yen, who was enveloped by the black light of the Nine Abyss Soul-devouring formation, was revealed. The expressions of the Holy Temple players, Scar, and Mu Qingfeng changed when they saw this. At this moment, Mo Yen bowed to Yi Chen while he was enveloped by the black light. "Thank you for saving my life, great general of swift cavalry." His words were filled with excitement and gratitude. However, the faint wariness and fear hidden beneath these two emotions did not escape Yi Chen's senses in the slightest. Yi Chen cast a glance at Mo Yen, whose ability to escape was restricted by the Nine Abyss Soul-devouring formation, and he smiled coldly. Then, he pointed at Mo Yen. The space above Mo Yen distorted when Yi Chen pointed at him. In the next second, the black and thick god-slaying spear appeared from the distorted space, and it went straight to Mo Yen. When Mu Qingfeng, who was beside Yi Chen, saw this, his pupils shrank. Without even thinking, he turned around and ran. The 1,000,000 Holy Temple players and Scar were also shocked. Without even thinking, they turned around and ran as well. Great General of Swift Cavalry. Mo Yen, who was enveloped by the black light, did not receive Yi Chen's reply. He could not help but feel his heart skip a beat. Then, he carefully bowed and asked, "Great General of Swift Cavalry." Chapter 531. An extremely strong sense of danger forced Mo Yen to stop what he wanted to say. At the same time, Mo Yen's pupils shrank. He felt the arrival of death. He didn't like that feeling. However, because he had swallowed the scarecrow, Mo Yen didn't panic too much. At this moment, the Nine Serenity's soul-devouring array, which was missing the array base and the person in charge of the array, stopped operating. Mo Yen, who was wrapped in black light, revealed himself. Mo Yen didn't hesitate to activate the Earth Soul Pearl. He wanted to escape by burrowing into the ground. He wasn't stupid. There was no one else here who could threaten him with death other than Yi Chen. Although he didn't understand, he was angry and even hated him. However, he didn't dare to stay here. If it was someone else, he wouldn't be afraid. However, the person who wanted to deal with him was Yi Chen. Therefore, he didn't have any confidence. As for the reason, it was simple. Yi Chen was the strongest person in the human race. He had reached the Nirvana realm. Mo Yen didn't know how powerful that realm was. Even if he had the Earth Soul Pearl to protect himself, he didn't dare to fight against Yi Chen. At least before he reached Yi Chen's level, he didn't dare to fight against Yi Chen. However, just as Mo Yen activated the Earth Spiritual Pearl, the black and thick god-slaying spear pierced through his head and pinned him to the ground. At the same time, the Godslayer flashed and a black smoke was instantly swallowed by the Godslayer. Yi Chen frowned when he saw this. Could it be that the Godslayer's soul-devouring ability was ineffective against the Scarecrow? Yi Chen just thought of this when a ball of white light rose from Mo Yan's corpse. That was the light of resurrection. Yi Chen was a player, so he naturally knew this. However, Yi Chen didn't like this result. Mo Yen wouldn't resurrect on the spot. Once Mo Yen resurrected, the Earth Soul Pearl would disappear. Moreover, the method to refine the Scarecrow would follow the history of his previous life and spread out. It would be treated as a top-grade product and spread among the major forces. This was not the result that Yi Chen wanted to see. At this moment, the god-slaying spear, which had just flashed with a black light, flashed again. A cloud of grayish-black mist emerged from the white light and was sucked into the godslayer. No. Why is it like this? A sharp and mournful scream suddenly rang out. It was Mo Yan's voice. To be precise, it was the voice of Mo Yan's soul. Seeing this, Yi Chen could not help but raise his eyebrows. Damn it. Luckily, the Scarecrow's special ability was useless against Godslayer. Yi Chen. Let me go. Let me go. Mo Yan's soul screamed at Yi Chen when he realized that he couldn't break free from the Godslayer. His spiritual voice was mournful and filled with endless fear. Mo Yan didn't expect that the Scarecrow that could replace his death would end up breaking him down so badly that he wanted to cry. Yi Chen's Godslayer started to devour his soul when he was resurrected. He didn't want to die. He wanted to live. He was the leader of the Heaven and Earth Alliance. He had the Earth Soul Pearl and knew how to refine scarecrows. He still had a bright future ahead of him. He still wanted to dominate the world and become immortal. He didn't want to end his life so early. Unfortunately, all his thoughts came to an abrupt end when his soul spoke for the second time. The black light disappeared. Mo Yan's soul was completely devoured by the Godslayer. With a buzzing sound, an earthy yellow bead appeared out of thin air and rapidly flew into the distance. At this moment, the supreme-grade Khanate spiritual treasure-fall coin, appeared beside Yi Chen. It flapped its wings and chased after the pearl. In the next second, the treasure-fall coin caught up to the rapidly flying Earth Soul Pearl and stopped it in midair. Yi Chen glanced at the Earth Soul Pearl that was being controlled by the treasure-fall coin. He smiled and pointed at the air with his right hand. In the next second, the space suddenly distorted. The Godslayer entered the distorted space and disappeared. At the same time, the treasure-fall coin that was controlling the Earth Soul Pearl flapped its wings and flew to Yi Chen's side with the Earth Soul Pearl. Yi Chen glanced at the Earth Soul Pearl brought back by the treasure-fall coin. He raised his right hand and grabbed it. Then, he looked to the east. There, hundreds of thousands of Templar players were running for their lives. This was because they saw Yi Chen's Godslayer and Yi Chen's unbelievably powerful abilities. They didn't want to die, and they didn't want to be stabbed to death by the Godslayer. So, the moment they saw the Godslayer, they immediately ran. At the front of the hundreds of thousands of players, the empty-handed Alliance Master of the Templar Alliance, Mu Qinfeng, was running for his life toward the east. His face was very pale. His eyes were filled with fear and unwillingness. This was because Yi Chen wanted to kill him. More importantly, he couldn't control the Wood Soul Pearl. Although he still had a connection with the Wood Soul Pearl, he couldn't activate it. He couldn't even activate it in the slightest. This feeling made him want to go crazy. The Wood Soul Pearl was his treasure. It was the foundation for his rise to power and unifying the Templar Alliance. It was also the foundation for him to conquer the world and become an overlord. But now, his treasure, the Wood Soul Pearl, didn't listen to him. How could he be willing to accept this? However, he had no choice. Not only was he helpless, but he also had to run away. This was because Yi Chen had used the Godslayer. Although Yi Chen didn't kill him directly, he knew that after Yi Chen dealt with Mo Yan, he would be next. As for the reason, it was very simple. Like him, Yi Chen also came for Mo Yan's Earth Soul Pearl. Of course, there was also his Wood Soul Pearl. If Yi Chen wanted to completely get the Wood Soul Pearl, he would have to destroy his soul. Mu Qinfeng was very clear about this. This was because he was the owner of the Wood Soul Pearl. He knew that the Wood Soul Pearl would protect a trace of his soul and prevent him from dying completely. Of course, Mu Qinfeng was also clear about one thing. Even without the Wood Soul Pearl, Yi Chen wouldn't let him go. This was because he had challenged Yi Chen on the World Channel. He even mocked Yi Chen and wanted to teach Yi Chen a lesson. As for why he was so arrogant and dared to go against Yi Chen, the source was the Wood Soul Pearl and the Beauty Alliance. He wanted to take in the tens of thousands of women in the Beauty Alliance and use the Wood Soul Pearl to absorb their primordial essence. Then, he would rapidly become stronger and break through the mortal evolution state. Unfortunately, Yi Chen spoke up to protect the Beauty Alliance. Hence, he was furious and mocked Yi Chen without hesitation. He threatened Yi Chen because he had the Wood Soul Pearl and could release wood element magic. He felt that he was invincible. But today, after meeting Yi Chen, he realized that all that was bullsh*t. In front of Yi Chen, he was just an ant. Such a powerful Wood Soul Pearl couldn't move after being grabbed by Yi Chen. How would he dare to continue fighting against such a freak? Hence, he fled without hesitation and didn't even care about the Wood Soul Pearl. He didn't want to be stabbed to death by the Godslayer. In his opinion, Yi Chen's Godslayer was too evil. It could even devour souls. If he really died, then he would have nothing left. Mu Qingfeng fled frantically. His face was distorted. He was filled with hatred, resentment, unwillingness, and regret. Just as Mu Qingfeng fled another 10 meters, the space in front of him suddenly distorted. The pitch-black and thick god-slaying spear emerged from the distorted space. Chapter 532. Mu Qingfeng, who was running wildly, narrowed his eyes when he saw the Godslayer suddenly emerge from the distorted space. In that instant, his scalp went numb and the hair on his body stood on end. His heart also involuntarily skipped a beat. He was most afraid of the Godslayer and Yi Chen's ability to summon weapons out of thin air and even control them without using his hands. And now, he encountered the outcome he least wanted to see. Mu Qingfeng stopped running without thinking and jumped to the left with all his might. However, just as his feet left the ground, there was a pft sound. The black and thick god-slaying spear pierced through his heart. Pft. Mu Qingfeng spat out a large mouthful of blood. Mu Qingfeng, who had just jumped, immediately fell to the ground. No. I don't want to die. Mu Qingfeng looked down at the Godslayer that had pierced his heart and then screamed miserably. At that moment, the Godslayer flashed with a black light and Mu Qingfeng's soul was instantly devoured. In the next second, the Godslayer trembled and then escaped into the void. When it reappeared, it was already 100 miles north of the battlefield. At the same time, Yi Chen, who was riding the Pegasus Little Gold, smiled slightly and then rode forward on the Pegasus Little Gold. After a few steps, he disappeared without a trace. Valley, entrance to the Demon Race's novice zone. The space suddenly distorted and Yi Chen, who had left not long ago, appeared here again. Looking at the Wood Spirit Orb and Earth Spirit Orb in his hands, Yi Chen nodded in satisfaction. My luck is good this time. I got the Wood Spirit Orb and Earth Spirit Orb. Thinking of this, Yi Chen moved his mind and Yi Chen's primordial spirit instantly appeared. At that moment, the suction force that forced him to ascend appeared again. After feeling the strong suction force, Yi Chen's primordial spirit rushed directly into the Wood Spirit Orb. In the blink of an eye, Yi Chen found Mu Qingfeng's remnant soul hiding in the Wood Spirit Orb and destroyed it. After Yi Chen's primordial spirit left the Wood Spirit Bead, it did not directly enter the Earth Spirit Bead. Instead, his primordial spirit directly returned to his physical body. Then, he forced out a drop of blood essence and dripped it onto the Wood Spirit Bead. When the Wood Spirit Bead absorbed Yi Chen's blood essence and recognized Yi Chen as its master, Yi Chen's primordial spirit reappeared and entered the Earth Spirit Bead. Just as Yi Chen's primordial spirit entered the Earth Spiritual Pearl, an incomparably thick earthy yellow light instantly pressed down on Yi Chen's primordial spirit. This was the remnant soul of the Alliance Master of the Holy Hall, Mo Yen. He was using the power of the Earth Spirit Pearl to attack Yi Chen. Yi Chen didn't even look at it. He raised his right hand and a ball of green light burst forth. Then, it met the ball of yellow light. In the next second, the ball of yellow light was directly received by the ball of green light. Then, the ball of yellow light quickly became smaller and weaker. This again. Mo Yan's remnant soul roared angrily and unwillingly. When Yi Chen heard this, he sneered. He didn't even know that wood was the nemesis of earth. How could he be worthy of the Earth Spirit Bead? Just now, Yi Chen didn't directly enter the Earth Spirit Bead because he wanted to refine the Wood Spirit Bead and use the power of wood to restrain the Earth Spirit Bead's power. Of course, even if Yi Chen didn't refine the Wood Spirit Bead and directly entered the Earth Spirit Bead's world, he wouldn't be harmed. At most, it would be a little troublesome. However, Yi Chen wasn't the kind of person who was so arrogant that he considered everything beneath him. To Yi Chen, if there was a safe way, he would naturally choose the safe way. He wouldn't stubbornly insist on doing things his way and consider everything beneath him. Even if Yi Chen was very strong now and could crush all players, Yi Chen wouldn't do that. To put it simply, even a lion would use all its strength to hunt a rabbit. Yi Chen was the same. After Mo Yan's remnant soul roared angrily, Yi Chen's divine sense instantly activated and directly locked onto Mo Yan's remnant soul. Without thinking, he grabbed the air with his right hand and instantly grabbed Mo Yan's remnant soul. Boom! A loud sound was heard. An incomparably hot ball of fire instantly appeared in the right hand of Yi Chen's primordial soul. Ah! An extremely shrill and miserable howl was heard. In the next second, Mo Yan's remnant soul was directly burned into nothingness. After sensing that the resistance in the Earth Spirit Bead had disappeared without a trace, Yi Chen's primordial soul smiled, and then left the Earth Spirit Bead. The moment Yi Chen's primordial soul left the Earth Spirit Bead, an even stronger suction force appeared out of nowhere. Without thinking, Yi Chen's primordial soul returned to its original position, and then opened his eyes. In the next second, Yi Chen couldn't help but frown. Then, he raised his head and looked at the sky. The suction force of ascension was getting stronger and stronger, but it didn't matter. He could still guarantee that he could refine the Golden Soul Bead. He just didn't know if the Golden Soul Bead was in Lord Grimm's hands right now. Thinking of this, Yi Chen frowned again. In Yi Chen's previous life, Lord Grimm was a solo player and an equipment wholesaler. His whereabouts were unpredictable, and this was also the reason why Yi Chen frowned. After all, it wasn't that easy to find someone whose whereabouts were unpredictable. Moreover, Yi Chen couldn't go looking for him with great fanfare. This was because it would easily expose the fact that Lord Grimm had the Golden Soul Bead, and then attract the attention of countless players. Of course, Yi Chen didn't care whether Lord Grimm was dead or not. What Yi Chen cared about was the Golden Soul Bead. However, if Lord Grimm was killed, the Golden Soul Bead would definitely disappear without a trace. After all, other people didn't have a Godslayer, nor did they have a method to devour souls. If Lord Grimm was killed, the Golden Soul Bead would definitely take his soul and flee far away. At that time, it would be really difficult to find the Golden Soul Bead. Even if Lord Grimm relied on the Golden Soul Bead to reform his body in the game world, there was no way he would show himself. And this was what Yi Chen was worried about. As for stealing the Golden Soul Bead from Lord Grimm, Yi Chen didn't feel the slightest bit of guilt. After all, not long after the Golden Turban Rebellion began, Lord Grimm ran to Samsara City and schemed against Yi Chen. To be more precise, he wanted to kill a Samsara City soldier and obtain a diamond equipment set. Then, he would use a treasure that could duplicate equipment to make a large number of diamond equipment sets and sell them to the Lord players who had a grudge against Yi Chen or were ambitious. However, his idea was good, but he fell into Zhou Tsang's hands. Not only was he killed by Zhou Tsang, but he also dropped the treasure that could duplicate equipment. It was because of this that Yi Chen didn't feel the slightest bit of guilt. Yi Chen wasn't a good person, but he wasn't a bad person either. To Yi Chen, it didn't matter what others did. However, as long as Yi Chen was an enemy, no matter how many people there were, no matter if they were human or not, Yi Chen would not hesitate to kill them. This was something that Yi Chen had decided from the moment he was reborn, and it had been implemented until now. Even in the future, Yi Chen wouldn't change it. The 5 elemental spiritual bead was only missing the golden soul bead. No matter what, he had to get the golden soul bead. Just as Yi Chen thought of this, an extremely weak fluctuation was suddenly detected by Yi Chen's divine sense within 1,000 miles of Luoyang. This was the metal escape skill, the golden soul bead. Thinking of this, Yi Chen's eyes suddenly widened. He then forced out a drop of blood essence and dripped it onto the golden soul bead. The moment the golden soul bead recognized him as its master, Yi Chen rode into the distorted space and disappeared. Recommended a good book, The Strongest Dad in the Wild. This was the first book about the strongest dad in the wild. The rest were just copies. Introduction. Chen Xiaonan had traveled to another world. He was about to take his twin daughters to participate in Where Are We Going, Dad? Suddenly there was a plane crash. He and his daughters fell into the Pacific Ocean. What should he do now? Fortunately, he activated the system of the strongest dad in the wild. Chen Xiaonan took his daughters to a remote island to taste the freshest and most natural wild game in the countryside. They climbed trees to fish for bird eggs, dug up bamboo rats, chased pheasants on the ground, and speared fish in the river. They rode a donkey, patted a dog's head, and hugged a kitten. It was a leisurely and carefree life. Chapter 533. Yi Chen immediately used his spatial ability to leave. His target was naturally the golden soul pearl, and he was determined to obtain it. This was because Yi Chen had sensed the fluctuations of a metal elemental spell. Although it was very weak, it was absolutely true. And in the Three Kingdoms novice zone, the golden soul pearl was undoubtedly the only thing that could allow people to possess metal elemental spells. At this moment, Yi Chen was very excited and agitated. This was because even Yi Chen himself did not expect to sense the aura of a metal elemental escape technique just as he was thinking about the golden soul pearl. Fortunately, Yi Chen already had a primordial spirit. Otherwise, Yi Chen would not have been able to sense it. 800 miles south of Luoyang, in a vast and boundless forest. Roar! An earth-shattering roar echoed continuously. A huge, pitch-black wild boar was roaring angrily at a pitch-black mountain. Its body was stained with blood, and its 2 eyes were scarlet. At a glance, it was obvious that it had been greatly agitated. Otherwise, it would not be like this. At this moment, the space suddenly distorted. In the next second, Yi Chen, who was riding on the Pegasus Little Gold, walked out of the distorted space and saw the huge, black-furred wild boar. Wilderness Big Boss, Flaming Wild Boar King. Yi Chen recognized the huge wild boar at a glance. A trace of nostalgia flashed in Yi Chen's eyes. There were only a few Wilderness Big Bosses in the Three Kingdoms novice zone. There were a total of 9 of them. 2 of them had died at the hands of Yi Chen, and that was when the Primordial World Game had started. Of course, Yi Chen had been able to kill 2 Wilderness Big Bosses when the Primordial World Game had started purely because of luck. He had coincidentally encountered 2 Wilderness Big Bosses fighting each other, and they had both been seriously injured and on the verge of death. Otherwise, Yi Chen would not have been able to kill them. It was also because of Yi Chen's heaven-defying luck that Yi Chen was able to obtain the Godslayer and the God-level village creation token. Otherwise, Yi Chen's path would not be the same as it was now. Thinking of this, Yi Chen could not help but smile, and then directly used his consciousness to explore the pitch-black iron ore mine. In the next second, Yi Chen's divine sense could see the golden light barrier and the players inside the golden light barrier. Luckily, she didn't run away. It seemed that this guy hadn't given up yet. He still wanted to kill the wasteland boss. Otherwise, he wouldn't be hiding in the mine and refusing to leave. Just as well, it saves me the trouble of looking everywhere. Just as Yi Chen thought up to this point, the flaming pig king suddenly sensed something. Hurriedly, it turned around and looked at Yi Chen. In the next second, the explosive flaming boar king's eyes widened, and it let out a brutal roar at Yi Chen. Roar! Its voice was very loud, and it caused the sky to buzz. When Yi Chen heard this, he glanced at the explosive flaming pig king and raised a brow. The wasteland boss in the beginner area of the Three Kingdoms was very strong and could drop a lot of good items. However, it would take some effort to kill a wasteland boss even if there were 10 or so divine level generals. Of course, this was only under normal circumstances. To the current Yi Chen, it would not be easy to kill this explosive flame boar king. After all, Yi Chen was already at the nirvana state, and the explosive flaming pig king had not even reached the mortal evolution state. How could it fight with Yi Chen? However, Yi Chen didn't expect this explosive flaming pig king to be so bold as to directly expose its killing intent to Yi Chen. I don't have time to deal with you. My target is the golden spirit orb. Thinking about this, Yi Chen soared into the air and charged toward the mine. When the explosive flaming pig king saw Yi Chen soar into the air, its eyes were dazed. In the next second, the explosive flaming pig king suddenly shuddered. Without even thinking, it turned around and ran. Clearly, the explosive flaming pig king saw how strong Yi Chen was. Otherwise, it wouldn't be like this. However, at this moment, a golden light flashed, and the golden Pegasus, Little Gold, blocked in front of the explosive flaming pig king. Roar! The explosive flaming pig king saw that a Pegasus dared to block its path, and was instantly enraged. After a furious roar, it lowered its head and charged toward the golden Pegasus. At the same time, Yi Chen arrived at the mine. Just as Yi Chen was about to grab the player in the golden light suddenly fled along the mine. Did it notice me, or, impossible, it shouldn't have any divine sense. It can't detect me. Yi Chen pointed his right hand at the air. With a whang sound, the space inside the mine suddenly distorted. In the next second, the space under Yi Chen's feet suddenly distorted, and a golden light rushed out from the distorted space. Seeing this, Yi Chen raised his eyebrows. Not bad, not bad, this spatial ability is really useful. Yi Chen thought about this and directly went to the ground, then grabbed the young man in the golden light. At this moment, the young man had a dumbfounded expression on his face. He originally wanted to try and see if he could kill the explosive flaming pig king, but before he could recover, he heard the explosive flaming pig king's footsteps leaving. After thinking about it, he gave up on trying to kill the explosive flaming pig king. However, just as he thought about leaving, an inexplicable sense of danger suddenly appeared. Although he didn't know where the danger came from, he had relied on his sixth sense to avoid danger many times. Therefore, he didn't hesitate to escape. However, he didn't expect that after running for a second, he would discover that his metal escape had lost its effect. Then, he found himself in the open space where he had just fought the explosive flaming pig king. Just as the young man was dumbfounded, he saw another handsome young man. He also saw the young man's right hand grabbing at him. This person, why does he look so familiar? Just as the young man thought about it, a ripple appeared on the golden light. Huh! Yi Chen couldn't help but be surprised when he saw the golden light shield blocking his right hand. Yi Chen originally thought that he could break the golden light in one hit, but it didn't break. This was why Yi Chen was stunned. It seems that this guy has refined about 1/10 of the golden spirit pearl. Otherwise, with the golden spirit pearl's recognition, the amount of energy it can use wouldn't be able to stop me. Just as Yi Chen thought about this, a cry of surprise sounded. Yi Chen! You're Yi Chen! The young man recognized Yi Chen's identity. After exclaiming in surprise, he turned around and ran without hesitation. That was what one would call a swift and decisive action. When Yi Chen saw this, he smiled slightly. He moved his feet and caught up with the young man. His right hand grabbed at the young man again. Halfway through, a ball of extremely hot flames instantly enveloped Yi Chen's entire hand. In the next second, there was a pop sound. Yi Chen's right hand, which was covered in flames, passed through the golden light and grabbed the young man's neck. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.